Some may find the following disturbing. Discretion is advised.
Put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Baby! I love this show. Anyway, do you love it too? You know, I've been... That was pretty cool, right?
Yeah. I enjoy being able to completely let it fly. No FCC restraints.
Fucking let it fly. No FCC. It is just Barflies, the Tooch, Dan, and Aldo. The Tooch will be joining us.
Lions fans probably here too, right?
Don Burr will be here soon. So let's think of some good insults. By the way, I had an idea that I get a lot of ideas. One of them is I want to invite Don Burr, a Packers fan and a Vikings fan, and ask them, would they allow us to just for 30 minutes us hurl insults at them and just take it like a man.
Any Vikings fans?
Vikings fans, it's got to be NFC Central guys, right? So NFC North. What do we call it now? North or Central?
Yeah, it used to be the Central, but yeah. Well, the only Vikings fan I can think of that's as dedicated as we are is that horrible biased announcer that they have.
Oh my gosh, who is that guy again?
What's his name? Yeah, he's always so fucking partial, even though his job is not to be.
Yeah, I forgot his name, but in any case,
he does interviews on various ESPN stations occasionally whenever the Bears are about to play the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. You know, another idea that I had is, when our announcer says it's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls, I thought maybe it would be better if we ask her to retrack it and say it's time for Dan and Aldo to blow their loads.
I'm sure she'll enjoy reading that line.
Hey, I paid her, so I'll pay her again, and she'll do whatever I ask.
Earlier when I saw Ogunjobi sign with Pittsburgh.
Well, how did that make you feel?
Like, we couldn't have found a way to give this guy one. I know he failed, so supposedly failed his physical.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he was good enough well enough to play with Pittsburgh,
mm-hmm.
and they're a winning organization. We couldn't have squeezed together one year deal like they did.
I think that Ogunjobi's agent is like, I don't want to deal with these fuckers. That's what I'm guessing went on.
If he goes to Pittsburgh and tears it up, it's just another thing on, just another little jab at them so far at year one. I'm worried, but I don't want to say that hopefully he'll still be a stud this year, but from everything I've read and heard, it's not that I was there, Kyler Gordon has kind of been, is he hurt? Is he Kevin White? I mean, hopefully he's not Kevin White for fuck's sake, but hasn't been participating. anytime you hear that now as a Bears fan, we have to worry because they have this documented, even not from this regime, but you have this well-documented just plethora of lies where they'll tell you, oh, it's just this guy's got an ingrown toenail and then, he's going to miss 3 seasons. That's what's going to happen. So are you worried about this at all?
I'm not worried. You know why? As I was doing research for our segment today about Bears players who can take us from mediocrity to the fucking playoffs, I think the defensive line is going to look good. I don't believe Olin Kreutz when he tweeted out that by the middle of the season, the offensive line will be playing better than the defensive line, and people will be worried about the defensive line.
You better quantify that. You don't want Olin Kreutz to be pissed at you.
Well, that is true. I mean, I have my wife and I have called security.
We have a restraining order.
Exactly. We called the same security firm that Adam Hogue has called. By the way, what about that controversy on social media? I'm not sure if you followed it, where I guess on the Hogue and Johns podcast, they talked about Byron Pringle not getting into detail about his arrest incident, and fans of the Hogan Johns show saying, "You're a hypocrite. Why don't you answer questions about the incident that happened with you and Olin Kreutz?" That's news.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, please elaborate. That's juicy.
Yeah. Well, again, I haven't been following that show for a few months since the season, and I guess on their latest show, 2 weeks ago, when Pringle met with the media, he was asked a number of questions about that, 3 or 4, and Pringle answered them professionally. He had a smile on his face. He said, it was what it is, and now I'm just here to work hard, and he was very professional about it. But reporters continued to ask, and I don't know who it was. After the press conference was over, one more question. I think it was either Hogue or Potash asked the question again. And I thought the questions at the top were fine. These guys are sports journalists. It's their job to answer those questions. But after he's already answered them 3 or 4 times, to ask one more time at the end of the press conference, I thought that was unprofessional. And maybe it was Hogue, because then the fans got after him. He posted a tweet with a link to the show, and I guess on the show, he and Johns talked about it, and they may have said something in the podcast that ignited fans, and they were all over Adam Hogue. And at first, I thought, this is not fair to pick on Adam, but then as I kept reading some of the criticisms, it did seem like perhaps they had reason to be angry with Adam. So I'll look in the chat to see if anybody has more context on that, but that's pretty much what I know.
Yeah, I wish that I picked up on that already. I mean, not that I should be like a schoolgirl so excited at their drama, because from all I can gather, Hogue's a nice guy. And again, I used to be a big fan of John's until a couple of years ago, and he told me on Twitter to make the 85 Bears season for him because he was too young to remember it. And I make all of them out, and then he wouldn't. You act like I was just some fan trying to stalk him when I was trying to mail him this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I did take that personally, and he just ghosted me at that point. So I was like, man, kind of killed my fandom for their show, honestly.
Yeah.
So I did listen to it early on a lot, but like I said, not to sound like a dick or like I've been vindictive, but that did bother me. With regards to this, I mean, he did say, I haven't seen where he had or anyone else tweeted where he had talked about the Olin Kreutz thing. So I would be interested to see what they said about it, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to go around calling him a hypocrite. But yeah, I guess I have to admit I'm interested in the controversy.
Yeah, I am too. I'll probably during my vacation, I got a vacation coming up, I'll probably listen to some podcasts, and I'll definitely put that one on the list to see what that's all about. I don't have, again, there's people in the chat room who are saying, Hogue is an entitled prick, and that's why. And Chubbs is saying they weren't asking questions. They were preaching in their questions at him like they were better than him. I didn't get that impression. Now, again, I worked for 7 years as a reporter here in Chicago, and so I have a little bit of empathy of what they go through and what their job is. But I didn't get that impression. Now I'll listen to it again, Chubbs, and everyone else, and see what that if I think differently upon the second hearing. But
the thing, if you don't mind me interjecting,
no, not at all,
about Hogan Johns that I guess especially Johns, that, and there's been a couple of other people too. And first, before I'm going to interrupt my own thought and say, wish condolences to John Moon Mullen and his family and his friends and everyone that knew him. Like last week, we were talking about he looked bad, and then that proved to be true because he passed away, which is terrible. He had been a beat writer for the Bears from 92 until, I guess, 20. That's when he got sick, something like that. So, and we've lost Vaughn McClure and Moon Mullen and Jeff Dickerson all in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And Vaughn was in his 40s, for fuck's sake. I think JD was too, right?
Yes.
So, but anyway, a lot of these reporters, especially Johns, are always complaining about their responsibilities or their access on their shows, which is just asinine to a super fan like myself or to anyone else listening, because we're all super fans, right?
Yeah.
And when they're like, I'm scheduling my vacation because I don't want to be there at the OTAs or what. That's just an example, not specific. It feels like, are you a fan or not? Like, you have this access that anyone else would kill for, and you just hate your job. Dan Wieder's another one of those, of course, because it's always negative.
See, I don't see it. I don't like Dan Wieder. I don't see that. I see a really good journalist. That guy knocks out. He'll knock out a fucking 3,000 word column on Sunday, and it's very well written. And once in a while, he and even Johns, I'm not a big fan of, to be honest with you. Somebody in the chat said he's a snob, and I agree with that. He does strike me as one of these country club kids. And Johns, if you're listening, maybe you will accept an invitation to the show. Sometimes people. He's
been on once, right?
I don't think Adam Johns is
not on this, like not on 100 Proof or something. I thought he's been on the network once on one of the shows somewhere along the lines. I know Hogue has.
Maybe he was on the Tailgate show, but I don't remember him being on. I remember invitations from the bar room going to him, and he accepted invitations. Like we retweeted his book and messaged him and asked him to come on and talk about the book, and then all of a sudden he ghosted.
He ghosted you too.
Yes,
this motherfucker is a serial ghoster.
Ryan Badgley, that happened to. So. Hogue has been very, very kind with his time, and I met him and his family out at Bourbonnais, and so I don't have that same feeling. And I'm not saying that because he's been a host. I'm saying that because he was kind to us. And when you're with your family and you just finished covering practice, and people are coming up to you and saying hi and making conversation and so forth. Me personally, I would want to try to get into my seat with my family as quickly as possible and leave me the fuck alone. But he was kind enough to stop and talk with people and our group. So
he has a special needs son,
and he has a special needs son too. So I've always wondered what he saw in Adam Johns. So but that it is what it is. Those guys are hardworking. I don't mind at all the tough questions. I prefer the tough questions. I applauded them in Matt Nagy's last year. They were taking him to task. I want them to continue to take coaches and players to task. And that's a hard thing to do because you want to establish, like Moon Mullen was outstanding at establishing relationships with players and still keeping it real, And if you read Melissa Isaacson's beautiful column on the Daily Herald about their connection, and over the years they would have breakfast together and he taught her so much and stuff. And one of the things that she wrote is that Moon would become friends, befriend second and third stringers. And it wasn't, anything inauthentic. He really took an interest in their careers and telling their stories and stuff. And, some of those second or third stringers ended up winning starting jobs, and he had that relationship done with those players. And it was a valuable lesson for her. And I think a valuable lesson a life lesson for all of us.
Yeah, like I said, I hated seeing the guy look as poorly as he did last week. I had no way of knowing he was about to die so quickly.
Yeah, it's so sad.
It's just so horrible for his family and his friends and colleagues and everything alike. It's just once again a harsh reminder that I'm not even religious, but I'm just saying, we're not promised another day.
Chubbs is saying here, this is like several podcasts where several of the beat reporters are talking about how they don't ask tough questions because their access depends on it. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear those guys talk about that because and have an opportunity to take them to task on that, because that shouldn't be the case. I mean, yes, it might hurt a little bit. You know, the Bears PR department, communications department might give somebody else an exclusive or access to a one-on-one interview other than you, but that should not stop any of the.
Doesn't stop Jason Leisure.
Yeah, exactly. Got to ask the tough questions. Got to be the advocate of the fans that are upset. They're not cheerleaders. They're not paid to be cheerleaders. I remember John Fox trying to establish this cozy relationship with reporters, and reporters are like raising an eyebrow saying, no, we're not here to, promote the Bears. We're here to dissect them and dissect your job and stuff. And that's their responsibility. I mean, that's the kind of reporter I would be if I had access to press conference and stuff. Ask the tough questions and see where it goes.
Well, I still think, to go back to the Weeder part, the reason it just rubs me so wrong in that regard is if this were 85, it could be like week 4, and I'm sure he'd be writing a piece like, I don't know, man, is Walter finished? It just feels like his angle is always something negative. Like you can call it hard-hitting journalism, he's doing his job, but it just feels like his angle always has something to do with pessimism. He'd be like, is this offensive line for real? Is McMahon for real? Like, he wouldn't be like, wow, this team looks like they could go to a Super Bowl. He would find 30 things about it that are negative, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen that, but I'm not saying you're wrong. You look at different stuff than I do, and sometimes look at it differently, and that doesn't make you right or me right or anyone right. It's our opinion. But
I have been following him, but I wouldn't be surprised if you told me he said, and if I'm wrong, I'll say, okay, maybe I'm the one who's at fault. Like you're saying, maybe that's just my personal opinion and it's completely off base. But I would bet that he's already saying Fields is a bust. That's the kind of guy he is to me, man. It's just that sense of, I don't know, man. He's not putting together good days at minicamp and mandatory mini. I don't think he's the guy. Yeah. I could see him saying that.
But have you seen him or read him saying that?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
It is conjecture on my point.
Gotcha. Okay.
At this part.
Okay.
Or at this point on my part, rather. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I was using that as an example, as a hypothetical.
Gotcha. Nomad agrees with you. He says the key word is pessimism.
Yeah, he's always down about whatever he's saying. The angle's always shitty. It's like he's a Green Bay fan who's been sent to our beat just to stir us up or something.
I want to say that he might be from Wisconsin. I read his.
There you go.
I read his bio once.
There you fucking go. I knew it.
Is from King Pookie Nation says that I look like a Black Widow dad. I'm not sure why. I'm wearing a white shirt and my black socks hat. My wife told me before coming on, you need to take that white shirt off. And I don't know what's wrong with just having a plain white shirt. But nonetheless, I wanted to read this quote from the chat room from Zachary Sullivan. As soon as we started the show and you brought up Don Burr, the Detroit Lions fan, Zach said that Don Burr said he was so poor growing up. How poor was he? His brother and him used to suck each other off just so they could have something warm in their stomachs.
Yeah, that's awful. That cannot be true.
I'm sure it's not true, but I think Zach Sullivan should write for comedians. That's a classic Jackie the Joke Man Martling joke. That is outstanding. Well done. And if Don, if you're tuning in and listening to that, yeah, is it true?
That might be a cheap shot at that gentleman. I don't know. It's funny as fuck though.
It is.
I feel bad for Don Burrow.
There's no cheap shots here at the bar room. They're all expensive shots. We got nothing but the best top shelf stuff.
That was hilarious.
That was fucking funny. Hey, Dad, before we started the show, you said, "Man, I'm really looking forward to the show. A lot of drama in my life and stuff. You want to share anything with anyone?"
Just this kind of shit everyone has. We just got internal conflict at one of my jobs, and it's very stressful. I don't want to elaborate on it. Everyone's had workplace drama, and I'm in the middle of one of those situations now that the only thing that makes it feel better is just time.
Mm-hmm.
Got hurt feelings across the board, that kind of thing, and it just takes time to get over it. And I'm in the middle of that shit right now, and plus all the time I've been putting in.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did like 78 hours last week, and just fucking that adds to it because it makes you more emotional because you had less sleep, and it's just been a horrible week. So that's what I was like, dude, I just can't wait to just get on here and talk about something else and not fixate on this web of shit in my head anymore. So.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, and you've told me a number of times, that how much you love being a part of the bar room and even just listening to the bar room, because where you live, there aren't any Bears fans. And so you don't get an opportunity to talk to people about your favorite team.
Yeah. Nobody gives a fuck. Everybody here's Pittsburgh fans. I mean, you may have back in the day, there were a lot of Washington fans during the Joe Gibbs era. I'm not going to call them bandwagon fans because I'm sure they continued on, but they were older, and it feels like everyone my age to a certain point are all Steeler fans. And when Carolina went to that Super Bowl, not the one in 2003, but the one in 2015, oh my God, the bandwagon fans that just came out of nowhere becoming Panthers fans was nauseating.
Mm-hmm.
But although we are very close to them, it's still Pittsburgh is definitely the team that everyone follows here for sure. Overwhelmingly.
Yeah. And what do you hear any of them talking about Mitchell Trubisky, and do they have high hopes for him, or do you think he's just a bridge who by the middle of the season will be back on the bench?
A couple of my friends that I have that are Steeler fans, two of them specifically that care as much as I do about the Bears, like they do Pittsburgh, and both of them have kind of shared optimism about Mitch. They really don't know what to expect, but both of them they don't think he was necessarily like Mike Glennon.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't signed as some kind of clandestine, so that no one will know we're drafting a quarterback. They don't think that.
Yeah.
They think the quarterback was available. They took him, and they think Mitch has a fair opportunity to show what he's got.
Right. So they don't think that he's a bridge quarterback with decaying wood, made out of decaying wood, huh?
No, in fact, both of them, again, only two people that I talked to specifically about this, in terms of the super fans of Pittsburgh, they both think that they're not sure about that pick yet.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like, oh yeah, we got our next Roethlisberger. They both are kind of like, ooh, I don't know if this guy's going to be any good. So I think they're both open to Trubisky.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how it goes. I wish Mitchell well, but I don't have the same confidence in him that Mike North does.
Chubbs is asking he's saying that you probably have a lot of Steelers fans asking you about Mitch, and if you do, what do you tell them?
You know what? No one's ever. The truth is, no one's ever asked me about Mitch. I did no those. I've had people ask me what I thought about Mitch a lot when he was here. Like, what do you think's going on? Like, Foles and Mitch, and then so he would come up during those discussions, and I always said that I liked him and that I thought that the Bears weren't utilizing his talent, and I think he could be better than what he's shown, and that he's actually better than what his reputation says it is. But it never felt like I was always hopeful. It was always based on potential versus what he was demonstrating. And I unless I'm wrong, I honestly feel if we shift it to current day Chicago, I think that's the difference between Justin Fields and Mitchell Trubisky, is that Fields, although he had a shitty rookie season, and I confess to that, I feel like he's someone that is going to show us that he's talented versus we're hoping that his talent shows up.
Mm-hmm. Chubb says, I think I agree with Mike North now more than ever I did because Matt Nagy was so bad and Mitch had a winning record and good stats. And I agree with you, Chubbs,
Right.
and with Mike. You know, the reality is he had a 29-21 record with the Chicago Bears, and he had a head coach who did not know how to utilize his physical talents and limit his deficiencies. And so you got to believe that a better head coach and a better offensive coordinator is going to put him in a better spot to deliver better stats and maybe even improve on that one-loss winning percentage. Yeah, I mean, I think Mitchell Trubisky is an NFL quarterback. The question is, you know, is he just an average quarterback, or can he arise to that top of tier 2? He's never going to be a tier 1 quarterback without any doubt.
With Mike Tomlin, maybe he could be.
I don't know.
I really believe Tomlin's a good coach. I know he hasn't won a Super Bowl in a long time, but still, I feel like comparing him to Matt Nagy is like comparing Vince Lombardi to, you know, Mark Trestman.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like he could put him in a spot to look really good. And if you told me Pittsburgh won a few playoff games with him, I wouldn't be surprised, but I wouldn't want to put my money on it. Here, I do have a question. So you're doing a show with Mike this week, right?
I did one this morning.
Oh, it was this morning. I was thinking it was tomorrow. The question I would ask him, and it's not from an adversarial position at all, because you know I'm a fan of Mike's, for real, legit. And I like Dan Jiggets as well. My question would be, does Mike want Fields to fail, like to just make his theory on Trubisky look even better? You know, it kind of felt like last season, whenever Fields had a bad game, he kind of puffed his chest out a little bit on that, you know, but I told you.
No, I think that, you know, that's a legitimate question. I truly believe that he was so angry that the Bears released or did not re-sign Mitchell Trubisky, and instead and didn't further develop Trubisky, and instead drafted a new quarterback and started all over again, that he was upset with that. He would have felt the same way if they would have had Trevor Lawrence. Trust me on that. His affinity, his love, his man crush, however you want to call it, for Mitchell Trubisky is so strong. And truly, when we first started, when Trubisky first started, he was throwing Trubisky under the bus. He didn't like him, but it wasn't until he saw him play a little, and then Trubisky showed up wearing that Ditka outfit for the Halloween. Yeah, Mike loves Mike Ditka. Mike North loves Mike Ditka, and thought that was such a beautiful homage, and that the kid understood the history of the franchise. That's when the love affair with Mitchell started. So I think it's more about that. I don't think it has anything that. I think it has less to do with Justin Fields and much more to do with.
So if Fields is balling this year, will Mike be cheering that on?
Absolutely, he will. Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I will bet on that. I will bet on that. And he said this morning that he kind of sees a 7-10 record, but that it could actually get above or closer to 500, you know, with certain things go right. And that's a big topic of our show today, the segue time. I wanted Dan and myself, and then later when Tooch comes on, to talk about certain players that could take us from, as I said in the promo, if you saw it on Twitter, my fucking promo.
To the fucking playoffs.
Exactly. Man. That's right. Fucking playoffs.
Playoffs. That's where we need Jim Moore.
And this is really shows dedicated to you, Dan, because you've been so optimistic and you've been preaching that why not us? It happens. It happens. And I look at the roster and I look at history. Usually, when there's so much turnover and so many changes and stuff, it usually takes a little while, but that's not to say that it doesn't ever happen. New coaches, new schemes, new players, they can sometimes gel together. And the more and more I listen to these press conferences, Dan, the more and more I am impressed with what these guys are saying. And it, to me, it just is fucking fantastic. I'm getting a little bit of hope here. Thanks to you, Dan, and thanks to listening to some of these guys talk. You still feeling a little positive about the season?
Yeah. If I recall correctly, Braxton Jones, I think I saw that he only gave up like 3 sacks in college.
in his entire college career. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he ends up being the left tackle, I mean, I know he's a 5th-round pick, but if the guy's not giving up any sacks, at least at the collegiate level, that's something you can build on for the pros. And obviously, we need somebody on the left side to be there and to be our guy, to be the anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe Borum goes to right tackle. I do, like we talked about before, the Jenkins thing is troubling. But this regime didn't draft him. I still wish him well. And maybe there's a chance they get throw his ass in at right guard. I don't know. Maybe that's completely, I mean, I'd rather see him there than Sam Mustipher.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I do have hope for the offensive line to be better than what we think it's going to be. If maybe Whitehair and the guy we got from Green Bay, what's his name, the center?
Lucas Patrick.
Patrick seems like the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Whitehair can bounce back knowing that he's the left guard and not going to go back to the other position, and they're, solidify himself there. And then if you got the rookie at left tackle who plays well, and maybe who it's possible that the line could be better than it has been the last few years.
Yeah, Olin Kreutz tweeted out he thinks the offensive line is going to be better than the defensive line, and he had Sam Mustipher in his projected lineup as a starter. I don't see that happening. Lucas Patrick is definitely going to start at center, and Sam Mustipher is going. They're training Mustipher to be a flex interior offensive lineman, so that if the center goes down or one of the guards goes down, Sam Mustipher could potentially fill in that role. But there is no guarantee at all that he's going to make the team. Sam Mustipher might not make the team. But I'm with you 100%, Dan, that I think this offensive line is going to be better than expected. And here is my projected offensive line. And you mentioned the key player already, Braxton Jones. The more I learn about this guy, and I know people in the chat room are going to say, "But Aldo, I've been telling you about this guy for months." I know you have, and Scocks, I appreciate that, and everybody else who's been singing the glories of Braxton Jones. I appreciate that, but I have to see it for myself, right? And so, based on the tape that I've seen, based on what he talks about, what he says, how he says it, he's the starting left tackle for this upcoming season. I don't give a fuck where he was drafted, and he's going to have spotless games every game this year. No, he's not. He's going to make mistakes, but this guy is going to be a fucking hell of a good player. I want to play some sound bites for you that's going to make your dick even harder than it is right now, Dan. Take it easy, all right?
It's been hard ever since I've heard that story about the two guys sucking each other off. I'm joking.
I love it. This is Braxton talking about do you feel like you're competing for a starting job?
Everybody's competing. Maybe rotating or whatever you want to call it. It's all competition. Everybody's competing for a job at the end of the day. I'm competing for a job. Maybe a guy behind me are competing for a job, and maybe a right tackle on the other side is competing for my job. So, an interior guy, you never know. So at the end of the day, it's all competition going into season, I would say.
Now, let me add to that by having him explain where he needs to improve.
In this short period of time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, just my transition from even college to the NFL or college to the Senior Bowl to the NFL, and just in these OTAs is throwing my hands. In college, I was really reserved with my hands, and I didn't use my long arms to my advantage. So I would say that's one of the big things, and still to this day, I still got to work on them. They're a big thing for me, and they're going to help me be very, really good in this league. And so I just think the biggest thing with them is being more consistent, but they've gotten better.
How specifically have you worked on that, and who's helped you with that the most?
Definitely Coach Morgan. He's been a big influence on that, just throwing them babies, letting them go. They're long, just letting them go, and he's just harping on me, and I love it because it is a big thing. I notice when I punch them, get them off their spot, it's huge. It helps me just recover, do anything. So just using those hands, but he's been a main influence in coaching me and being good about that, staying on me.
What do you think about what he just said, and what's the vibe that he gives you when he talks?
Sounds very studious.
Yeah, right.
Intelligent. He doesn't sound like you're, the caricature of an offensive line from previous generations that just they went out on Thursday and they drank beer and they got into fights. He sounds like a guy that would have been a great student.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that's going to watch film a lot and not one of these cavemen kind of guys. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We've won the Super Bowl with an enormous amount of cavemen. But
That's right.
he just sounds like a kind of guy that would be valedictorian of his high school is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's well-spoken.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like he'd be a nice guy. And obviously, if he's talking about just small things like the way he's using his hands, I mean, he's trying to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And he did something right if he only gave up a few sacks his entire run in college.
Right.
But he's still trying to improve. So
yeah,
he's very impressive.
Yeah,
but again, it's still June.
Yeah, I got a ton more sound bites, but I won't play any more from Braxton Jones. I want to play some from other players. But over and over again, his responses are so thoughtful. And from what we're hearing about camp, I think that the coaches really love this guy. And I think that they're thinking this guy could be the answer. So let's put him in there with the ones. Let's keep pressing him. Let's keep challenging him. Let's keep throwing things at him. And that now that the OTAs and the mandatory mini camp are over, these coaches, before they go on break, or maybe they're on break now, they're looking at that film and they're saying, okay, when we go back into the real training camp, here's going to be our depth chart. And I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling that they're going to list Braxton Jones as the number one left tackle, that Larry Borum will be the number one right tackle. At right guard will be Tevin Jenkins. At center will be Lucas Patrick. And at left guard will be Cody Whitehair. And I truly believe in my bones that that's a better offensive starting offensive lineup than the one Olin Kreutz put out with Sam Mustipher at right guard and Sam Mustipher at center, I think he had, and Lucas Patrick at right guard. There's just no way, first of all, that Patrick is going to move to right guard. He was brought in to be the center. He's been working like 90% of the snaps in camp with Justin Fields at center.
Yeah, but Olin's boy is Mustipher, so you can't forget that. And part of his, I don't want him to beat my ass now, but I think he's very close friends with Sam Mustipher by his own admission.
You think you and I could take Olin Kreutz? I'll go down low, you go high.
I don't want to be involved in any fucking soundbite war with Olin Kreutz.
What if somebody said, okay, guys, I'm going to give you, Dan, and Aldo $25,000 to get into the ring with Olin Kreutz and just try to pin him? Would you do it?
Not for $25,000, no.
How much?
You're going to pay off my mortgage? My mortgage, I still owe $80,000 in my house.
Hey,
you're going to pay off my fucking mortgage? I'll let this guy maul me to have my mortgage paid.
Would you suck his dick?
I would not suck his dick.
All right. Well, the invitation is out there, but we need somebody to come up with $80,000 first of all. Wait a minute. I got to get a cut out of that. Make it an even $100,000. I'll take 20. Dan can have 80, and we'll take on Olin Kreutz in the ring. That'll be fun, man. I got to get in shape for that because I'm going to be running around, running for my life.
Yeah, the guy, he's again, I don't want to piss him off, but I thought because listening to all of his sound bites, because he's such a good analyst,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not just placating him when I say that. Since he had retired, I thought he had chilled, like he's a dad and, got a bunch of kids, presumably a beautiful wife, a beautiful house, a beautiful life. And,
mm-hmm.
But he's just as angry as he's always been. So, yeah, I don't want any part of that. That motherfucker would tear me up, and I know it.
Yeah, you and I were texted back and forth on that topic. I'm worried about guys like Kyle Long and Olin Kreutz. And please, if Olin does listen to this, I don't mean that as I'm taking pity or being critical in any way. I just know from what I've seen, I was friends with Dave Dorison, and Dave was just an outstanding human being. He went on and had great success. Besides knowing him when he played, I worked at CBS and working on a couple projects with him. during his playing days, but post his playing days, I used to work for McDonald's and do work for the Ronald McDonald House Charities, and Dave was a big time supporter of that, and we would talk and so forth. It's just great. And so for him to go through that CTE thing, I worry for guys who are banging helmets all the time, and that something could go wrong. And so guys like Kyle and Olin, who have shown some anger management issues, I personally worry about them because I care about them like friends. So anyway, be that as it may. So there's my offensive line. You want to grade my projected offensive line? Do you think it's a good one?
Yeah, well, the only thing that I want to take umbrage with on it is I feel like you and I putting Jenkins at right guard, there's no evidence to support that yet. That he's been, as far as I know, they haven't tried him out at guard.
They said they were, or that it's part of the process. So if he's going to move over the right guard, that has to happen pretty fucking quickly.
As soon as the training camp opens.
Exactly.
We got like 6 weeks from now.
Correct.
Yeah, I would put him there day one if that's going to be the place.
Mm-hmm.
And just, for better or for worse, man, this is your spot. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he's just going to be the backup to both tackles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, the investment with Tevin Jenkins is so huge, second round pick. Boy, he's got to be a starter somewhere on that offensive line. I think Ryan.
They don't care if he fails because he's not their pick.
Well, I slightly disagree with that. I think they do care simply because, Jesus, you got to protect the fucking quarterback. That's your.
Well, what I meant by that was if Larry Borum outplays him, they don't have any politics.
Agreed.
Or he's not our pick, so we don't have to force him in there if he's not actually one of the best five.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because Swanky just a little while ago said, that same thing, that he's just glad that at this point we're not seeing those politics play into who's playing and who's not playing, who's in the starting lineup and so forth. And that to me is a promising sign for this team. We need excellent evaluators of talent, and we need people with the guts and the balls to say, I don't care where this motherfucker was drafted, he should start it over the guy that's making more money. That kind of approach, because you're just shooting yourself. You're putting that gun and aiming it straight at your heart if you're going to start playing politics over who should be getting playing time and stuff. And these people, Eberflus, his coaching staff, and Ryan Poles, they don't strike me as those kind of weak-hearted guys like Ryan Pace was. In my mind, my disdain for Ryan Pace still continues to grow. And I know people on social media is like, those guys had left already. No, yeah, but they left a mess. That's the problem. They left a fucking mess. And so until it's all cleaned up, then I'm going to continue to complain.
I agree with you, but as we keep breaking down here and extrapolating out why we think this could be a possible playoff team, because again, we just started on offensive line. The overarching theme is like, okay, well, how could we make it to the playoffs? I still think the specter over all of this is the bald fuck is not here.
Mm-hmm.
If Matt Nagy were still the coach, then if someone was saying they're 6-11 or 5 and whatever the fuck, I mean, it's like, okay, I get it, because we have such a horrible coach. And Eberflus could prove to be, another bad hire. I'd like to think not. I hope not. But he seems already superior to Matt Nagy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of my selling to you and to everyone, is that a coaching staff that is better than the other one. That should be number one on our tree here. As I started the offensive line, the first thing I should have said was Matt Nagy's going.
Yeah. Which is something
that is so huge.
Yeah. Something you've been saying, right?
Right. But I mean, even now, talking about, well, how are we going to get to the playoffs? This guy's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And even if Ryan Pace was a complete and utter failure, like you were saying, and I can't disagree with you,
mm-hmm.
He's not the one coaching the team. I know he's the one with inferior picks and such, but still, like, as we can point out, this guy was misusing Trubisky, and they brought in Andy Dalton, and
mm-hmm.
they brought in Foles. And again, Foles is an accomplished guy, and he's got a large penis. We can't take that away from him. But,
Big Dick Nick.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Foles, maybe they paid too much for him, but wasn't necessarily a terrible signing, but Dalton was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Just a horrible pick.
Useless.
Yeah, absolutely. You still had Foles there, and Foles is arguably better than he was anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you give this guy $10 million to do nothing. And remember that game against the Cardinals? He throws 4 picks, and that last one was just so bad. It was like even Cutler would have been like, what the fuck are you doing? Because, Jay had a lot of those like, oh, God, what are you doing picks? Like, you got picked off by a 380-pound guy in the NFC Championship game. Oh, that wasn't him. I'm sorry. That was what the fucking backup. That's help me out here. Caleb Haney.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got picked off by the 400-pound man. Oh God. Why did you bring that up?
BJ Raji.
Oh, that sickens me to this day. I could have a fucking rash on my penis and it would feel better than having to see that highlight. God damn it, man. But I getting back to the topic, if the Bears are going to make the playoffs, I think it starts with a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad Dalton's not here too. I mean, he may be a great guy, but I feel so much better with number 1 behind center.
Mm.
And like we said, so to make it concise, offensive line could be better. You never know. Everyone could get hurt. Like that's happened. Mm-hmm. And then by week 5, you're like, you guys look dumb. Why did you say the line was going to be? I mean, injuries happen.
Mm-hmm.
On paper, on June 21st, there's a little bit of hope right now for the line, I think.
I'm with you 100% on that. There is hope. CJ
Williams.
Williams.
Go to secondary next, but I interrupted you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say CJ Williams said that Olin had on Tevin Jenkins on his podcast, and Jenkins admitted that he's still getting into condition. So I think that may be just to give him the benefit of the doubt. He wasn't 100% when he came back from injury last season.
Right.
And I hope that he didn't spend the off season away from Hallis Hall and not working into condition. And so perhaps that's why they had him with the second stringers, because the coaching staff noticed, dude, you're heaving and huffing here. We need to see more effort out of you. They got that whole fucking hit system, and it's a metric system, and they grade your hustle out on the field, and they post it for all the players to see so that they have accountability for their actions, which I think is a great idea. And you got players saying, hey, you got to start hustling more and so forth. So if that's the case with Tevin Jenkins, he better get his shit together, because he will be on the bench, and who knows where else he could end up. But I do believe that he can get his shit together and play the guard position, which is a lot of analysts, including Danny Schimmon and Neil Stopchinski here at the Barroom Network, said he's much better suited for the inside than he is outside, and he could be a really good, even above average offensive guard. So he's got that going for him.
Wasn't he with Komet and Fields at Wrigley Field?
I don't know that.
I think I read somewhere that he had a home run at Wrigley Field.
I know that Justin Fields hit one, but did Tevin hit one too? We got Cubs fans in the chat.
I read on Twitter, and if that's the case, it made me think immediately his back must be feeling better.
Yeah, if you could take a swing like that, hit one out at Wrigley, even with the short wall there, I think I can jack one out in Wrigley Field. I'm just saying that because I know Chubbs is a big Cubs fan, and I want to piss him off. All right, I got another player. Who I think that can take us from fucking mediocrity. By the way, Art by Nike says that you are absolutely right. Komet hit one out. Jenkins hit one out. Justin Fields hit one out. Where the fuck was I, man? I got to stop drinking this shit here.
Doesn't it make you feel good about his back?
Hell yeah.
The surgery must have been going well, because he wouldn't be out there trying to fucking hit home runs at Wrigley Field if he was hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That looks like Jenkins hit a couple of home runs, as did Komet and Fields. So it was not a fluke. Jordan says, man, I'll just never understand the desire to just shove him inside. Jenkins is phenomenal at the Big Ten was phenomenal at the Big Ten at tackle. Jordan, Jordan is going to comment on one of the other players. And for those people who did not see on our Twitter feed, Jordan is going to join the Barroom Network with his very own show. He is, of course, already a member of the Barfly Tailgate Show, which will come back sometime in August, Sunday mornings, pregame show. And but he will also have his own show called Bare Necessities, where he will share his wisdom about the game of football, and it's going to be something special. In fact, we'll have a little treat for you as we go through some of the players that I've got on my list. Dan, you wanted to talk about the next position group, or did you have a player that you think is going to take us from fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs?
Well, I was going to go to the secondary, but
Please.
I don't want to skip off of the center here from Green Bay, Patrick.
Yeah.
Everything I've read and seen, whether it was talking about his days with the Packers, playing guard, playing center, and just hearing him speak, I think that was a great acquisition.
Oh, yes. Gosh, if I was fucking just grading this team on what they say, I would say this team is going to the Super Bowl. They seem to say all the right things.
But it's not like in a can the way Mitch's press conferences were.
Right, exactly.
It feels like they're speaking from the heart, with the exception of Ryan Poles' introductory press conference when he was clearly reading.
He was reading. He was nervous. It was not, I blame that on the communications team over at Hallis Hall. They should have coached him up a little and made him relax. Marijuana is legal.
Or go the McMahon route and open a fucking can of beer.
There you go. Really endear yourself to Bears fans. Go up there, Ryan Poles, for your next press conference with a can of Schlitz or something.
Put a headband on that says Pace.
I love it. All right. You wanted to go to secondary?
Yeah. Well, I know we said this around the draft, but at the time I remember hearing that Kyler Gordon had never given up a touchdown, and that Brisker, the safety, had never been hadn't been penalized.
Right.
Again, those are not gonna. That's clearly not gonna happen forever in the pros.
Yeah, not the way
Probably
he
week
plays.
one.
Yeah.
Brisker gets flagged for fucking interference, and Gordon gives up a touchdown. But on paper, again, it's good acquisitions. Because the secondary was terrible. I mean, just absolutely terrible. And to me, Brisker, everyone saying, beat writer wise, that he was a leader as soon as he got on the field in OTAs, and was clearly going to be a starter as soon as he got there. His leadership was there already, despite being a young kid that was just drafted. So it seems like that's a slam dunk. And if you combine it like Eddie Jackson said, this guy wants to get in there and get dirty, then so be it. Well, that again, we all been down on Eddie, and rightfully so, but that will help Eddie if he's playing the Amos role, and then he can play back and maybe get some picks. And then if, again, in theory, you've got a corner to go along with Johnson, who I think is a little overloved, but neither guy should be terrible.
I agree. This secondary is better than it's been in years, at least on paper.
You still got to worry about the slot guy and the nickel, but it's not going to be Shelley this year. You got
the kid Tavon, who was from the Ravens, who was one of the better slot cornerbacks in the league. He just has to stay healthy. So we've got players. And this secondary, I think, could be the strength of the team. I really do.
And then the Graham guy, what was his name? He emerged late last season.
Thomas Graham.
Yeah. The draft pick from last year that for some reason didn't get any PT until really late last season.
Well, I can tell you why. He was not ready to play. He admitted it. He said, because he took the COVID year off. And so he didn't play that year of college football. And so when he showed up to camp, he was actually dropped because he just wasn't ready to play football. And he had one of the good things that Ryan Pace did before he left was that he coached them up, sent them a bunch of tape, encouraged them to keep battling and so forth. And the coaching staff saw improvement week by week by week. And so when the defensive backfield got depleted with injuries, they gave him his break and he immediately responded. It wasn't a knock. We shouldn't knock the coaching staff for not playing him earlier. It was just simply what Graham himself said. I was not ready, and I'm glad I had the time to get ready.
Well, the guys ahead of him clearly weren't ready either.
That's true. Good point.
I mean, I'm not trying to hate, but I know you like Vildor way more than I do.
Well, his play deteriorated, so I can see, yeah, you're right.
Vildor and Shelley both played terribly, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Shelley started to play better.
They may not even be on the team this year.
But don't you think that Shelley started to play better towards the last 3-4 games of the season?
Not that I can recall, but maybe I'm wrong.
With your great memory, you can't recall it, so it probably didn't happen.
Nothing about either one of those guys ever stood out to me as positive. And I mean, everyone was praising Vildor, and I was like, man, am I watching a different game? But I mean, I'm not breaking down the film. I'm not trying to be an expert. I'm not going on NFL Network. I'm simply sitting in this chair as a fan. And from a fan, non-professional perspective, it felt like that dude was terrible.
Yeah. But to your point about Brisker and Eddie Jackson, I got a couple of sound bites that I butted together. This is Eddie talking about Brisker. He was asked what he likes about it. And then this is Brisker being asked, what can you bring to in terms of being the co-safety along with Eddie Jackson?
We kind of some similarities. I know he always tell me he like to be in the box. So just having that right there, he want to be down and I can be in the back, be free, but we can switch it at any time. So just having some similarities is going to be fun.
Is that music to your ears? I mean, that's because that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I'm willing to play both. It don't matter. But I mean, just knowing that he's accepting that role and he's really buying into it, you can go ahead. I'm gonna let him get it.
I know what your skill set allows Eddie Jackson to do. He's willing, but would probably rather not be down there taking on backs and tight ends. What does his skill set allow you to be able to do?
Really just, allows me to, focus on, just one thing, whether that's me playing in the box and, covering the tight end or, coming down and hitting and, anything like that. Or, if he does come down and then, I'm back, I could, show I got great range too. And then obviously he could play both safeties, so.
That's the one thing about the safety duel is that Brisker has shown that he has the versatility to play that deep safety and in the box. Eddie Jackson has never proven that he can play in the box. He only plays that deep safety. That's what he did at Alabama. At Alabama, he had free reign of center field. And unfortunately, after Vic Fangio left, that the defensive system didn't really play to Vic Fangio and Adrian Amos, when those guys left, didn't play to Eddie Jackson's strength. So it's going to be interesting to see how many times we'll see Eddie Jackson in the box. You certainly don't want it to be predictable because quarterbacks then will be able, veteran quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers will be able to pick apart that secondary if they know where these guys are lining up every time. You got to do some disguises and things like that. But those two guys have the makings of being as good as the Amos Jackson secondary, and I'm super excited about that. I had both of those guys on my list, Dan, that you mentioned, Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. That's going to make a huge difference on this team, and again, could take us from fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs. All right, let me throw another one at you here. I have on my list Trevis Gipson. You like Trevis Gipson, Dan? Defensive lineman?
We're going to find out. I mean, he's obviously did well in the backup role and starting for Khalil Mack last season.
Yes, he did.
But it's a whole different. It's almost like you were, to use a baseball analogy, he was the guy that oh shit, the starter's out and it's a third inning. Well, we'll bring this guy in to pitch the next 5 out of the pen.
Mm-hmm.
He's like he's not really a starter, but he's the long man out of the pen, and he's the guy you depend on whenever there's a fucking train wreck early in the game. But now he's a fucking starter, or maybe they've switched him to closer.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, he's in a new role, and he's got to prove that last season wasn't a fluke,
right?
And now there's added pressure that wasn't there before because he was pretty much. There was no time to second guess. It's just like, you're the next guy up.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're the guy, so let's see it. But, yeah, I like him. He's one of our guys. We drafted him. He's playing so far, has played well. And, again, I'm not at these OTAs, but it seems that without pads, he's impressing again.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I'm being asked by J2K Larsonet, how can he be a breakout player this year when he broke out last year? Well, the reason I have him on my list is because I do believe he is going to see twice the amount of snaps that he saw last year. And so I don't have his stats in front of me, but that means that he could potentially double, maybe even triple his sack and strip sack numbers from last year. That he could, if Robert Quinn decided, I don't want to play for the Bears, or the Bears decided that we're going to trade Robert Quinn, that he could be a more than adequate replacement. I think this guy is if he broke out last year, then what he's going to do this year is outstanding. So I went to my good buddy Jordan and asked him, can you give me a 30, 60-second scouting report on Gipson? And so, of course, he gave me a 4.5 minute one. But this is not only to showcase what Gipson is, but also to give you a taste of our new host of Bare Necessities, Jordan Silveria. And I apologize if I screwed up your name, but I'm going to let Jordan take it away here and share with us his scouting report on Trevis Gipson. And this should be a delight for all of you football fans who like thorough scouting reports.
When I think about Trevis Gipson, I think of an individual that above all else is very well-rounded and talented in his skill set. The thing that sticks out to me most is his explosiveness off the ball. And this is coming from a guy who was a defensive end in a 4-3 system at Tulsa, had to transition and take a year in learning to become a stand-up backer. And even as a 3-4 outside linebacker, he did an exceptional job of getting off the ball quickly and often putting tackles on their back foot, wondering, how do I deal with this guy? And that was one of the next best parts about Trevis Gipson. He's an individual that this is a big part of my evaluation that I care about with trench play, especially from defensive linemen, is can you win multiple ways? This is a league in the NFL that predicates itself on taking away your best skill and asking, can you find another way to beat me? And that is one of Trevis Gipson's best skill sets. He has a signature inside swim move. One of my favorite moves that he's found a way to consistently use and perfect is what I call a ghost move. A little bit of a hesitation where as the tackle is starting to shoot the hands, he will dip that shoulder down, the tackle will miss, and he can slide right by. Well, what happens when he accidentally gets caught with those hands doing a ghost move? The next best part, winning on the second move, learning how to react. He shows a great ability to throw up a strong rip, to forcefully show strength, to beat around the arc and get around the corner, to hit quarterbacks. He creates consistent pressures. Another great thing is even when he seems like he's beat, he uses excellent hand usage to continue to try to fight free off tackles, blocks, and he consistently is looking for the ball. There's numerous cut-ups I can show on film where he is actively caught in a block fighting away, only to still have the reactionary awareness to then break free as a quarterback's trying to scramble past him, or to all of a sudden separate at the point of attack to tackle or swallow up a running back. This is all pass rush essentials here. Hand movement, getting off the ball. How does he do in run defense? Well, when we think about run defense, I can show you cut-ups of him dealing with some of the nastiest fullbacks, Patrick Ricard from the Ravens, dealing with sift blocks from tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, for example. He forcefully throws hands. He likes to oftentimes completely just stunt and just stop them right in the way. And this is ultimately what creates great ability to separate from blocks, hold his ground, set the edge, and stop the run. I think that he also showed exceptional awareness as a 3-4 backer and being able to cover in space. So as much as he's talked openly about the desire to just be able to get off the ball and rush as a 4-3 end again, I think he'd be exceptional in the ability to also spot drop and create the illusion by bringing pressure in different areas and then dropping Trevis out. Whereas, for example, Robert Quinn, if he's on the team, does not traditionally like that, as he's expressed so many times that he prefers to just be a 4-3 end. Trevis, now being cross-trained to be a 3-4, 4-3 guy, has the ability to drop in coverage, and that's another check mark to add to his game, to his repertoire. And then finally, the thing that I think is most important to touch on is, if you heard me at the start of this, I think one of his best traits is his explosiveness, his ability to get off the ball. The thing that is eerie, and boy, does it make me excited to see his snap count double, triple, just in the amount of time he plays now that Khalil Mack's out of the picture. He's talked about, when asked, what are you excited about jumping back to a 4-3 system? He said that he prefers having his hand in the ground. And this is not totally abnormal. Guys like Kyle Vanden Bosch, or for example, was always better with his hand in the ground as opposed to having to be a 2-point guy when they transitioned to 3-4s later in his career, Tennessee, things of that nature. He, being Trevis Gipson, talked about having his hand in the dirt allows him to get more into that lunging forward stance that ultimately pushes force, creates acceleration, allows his get off to be even more explosive, for him to just shoot himself into his man, engage the block, disengage, use hand movement to get out. So when I think about Trevis Gipson, I have incredibly high expectations for what he can be as a full-time player, now returning back to a 4-3 as a defensive end with his game totally refined in a lot of areas of strength.
Not bad there, Dan Aguirre. What did you think of that analysis by our man Jordan?
Well, I can't contradict it because once more I haven't studied film, and I certainly haven't broken down pass rush moves since I played football 77 years ago. So it's a different skill set than my own. It's not to take away from what he said, but to add to it. Gipson had 9 starts last year and had 7 sacks. So in theory, he could have, 16, 17 starts this year. And again, perhaps he'll be double-digit sacks this year. And if you find a way to keep Robert Quinn, which it's got to be 50-50 at this point, although I keep hearing people say that the Bears would probably be happy to get a 6th-rounder for him. And I'm like, what the fuck? This guy had 18 and a half sacks last year. I know that he only had, he's 32, but still, like, God, look at all the shit that the Denver got last season in their trade at the end of the year for Vaughn Miller. I can't imagine Quinn only being like 4th, 5th, or 6th. But Gipson, I do think, could be an important piece this year, and we hope that he takes that next step.
Did you have his stats page in front of you there? Did you?
I looked it up while he off of Pro Football Reference while the piece was going.
Right, because he had. I'm looking it up myself. He had how many sacks was it? 7.
Yeah, and 9 starts.
And he forced. I'm trying to find how many fumbles he forced because he recovered 1. He forced 5 fumbles. So he had that strip sack quality to him. He has that. And he was asked, where did you get that from? And if I can find the fucking soundbite, I'll play it for you. Here's Trevis Gipson talking about how he learned to turn over the ball.
I think I picked it up from the vets in my room, Mac and Quinn, last year. And they were just, repeatedly saying, like, you get the ball out, you get credit for the sack and the forced fumble. Get the ball out from the quarterback. It counts for a bunch of stats. And, that's what overall helps guys' careers. That's what we do to get paid and this, that, and the third. So I think getting the ball out is more important than tackling. I think it's more important than a lot of things. It can change the momentum of the game.
Putting an emphasis on that.
Yes. Yes, they are. A lot. A lot. And I think that's going to be bred into our defense, and protecting the ball is going to be bred into our offense. And I think that's going to be something we cherish.
I hope he doesn't miss any fucking tackles this season because that'll really piss me off. He takes his Eddie Jackson approach. I'm just looking for turnovers and don't fucking tackle. But I'm super impressed with him. The guys that we've talked about, and by the way, thank you very much, Jordan, for that outstanding scouting report.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take away from Jordan.
No, I don't think you did. And again, Bare Necessities is going to start soon. We'll have promos on the Barroom Network Twitter feed and all over the place, promoting his first show, which will be before the end of the month. And so we're all looking forward to that. But I wanted to say that Braxton Jones, Trevis Gipson, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon are some of the players I think that are going to take us from fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs. And so Is there a position group that you want to go through before I go on to the next player on my list, Dan?
No, go ahead. Again, just keeping an overarching theme so far. We're trying to convince everyone, if the Bears would make the playoffs, these are the guys that would help us get there. We started with new coach, offensive line, secondary. Right. So here we go.
Excellent way to put it. And I'll ask you a question as I lead into my next player. What do you remember from Nick Anderson's rookie season with the Chicago Bears?
Going back to what, 06?
Yeah, that was the 06 season, right?
Yeah, he had a lot of sacks. It's kind of like what we're hoping that Gipson doesn't do.
Mm-hmm.
He came in, had a lot of those sacks, and then by 07, he's the starter and is never the same.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, seemed like he had 10 sacks, right?
I think it was 10 sacks. He was a situational pass rusher. And so that's why my next player on my list, I think, could be a great comparison to Nick Anderson.
The rookie?
Dominique Robinson.
Yeah, they said, again,
Mark
from
Anderson.
all accounts, so far with just no pads on, he's looked great.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been beating Trevis Gipson, or not Gipson, but our guy that we want to play right guard now. So
yeah, Trevis Jenkins, right?
Yeah, Jenkins.
Well, there's something in my bones. Again, I'm not a scout like Jordan, and Dan and I are not those guys. If you want a scouting show, then tune in to Jordan's debut of Bare Necessities. Tune in to Gabriel Talks Football. Tune in to when Jordan and Stopchinski come back with Draft on Tap. Those guys do that. I'm talking about my passion for these guys, what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, the little limited knowledge that I've acquired about football over seeing it, since the 1960s. So I just have a feeling that this kid could be something special. And listen to what Trevis Gipson said about Dominique Robinson. I loaded so many fucking things here and I didn't put them in any order. So here is Gipson for a minute and a half, Dan, so it's a little long one. But this is Gipson being asked about Dominique Robinson. I love this reply.
Dominique Robinson, he's a great player, great student of the game, comes in to work, never late, always has his playbook in his hand, is eager to learn. Man, he sort of reminds me of me, honestly. 5th round pick, coming in, chip on the shoulder, showing up to practice every day, dominating, and still looking to get better, even where he can.
What stands out about his skill set?
He's really athletic, man. Dude is lean, can move, very versatile. He can rush the passer with speed and rush the passer with power also. So I think that makes him a great player in his own aspect.
You say he reminds you of yourself. Where is he compared to maybe where you were when you were just first coming in as a rookie?
I would say he's better than me, honestly. Coming in, I think he has a lot more pass rush attributes than I did coming in. I think he has more experience on the edge than I did. I think we take the same approach for the learning game, but overall he's a great student, great athlete, and I think he's going to help us a lot.
All of this said, then, do you look at him as somebody you're competing with for playing time?
Oh, yeah. I think that's the nature of the game. Being realistically, everybo's in here is competing with each other too. So even with trying to get the questions out, so I think that's the nature of just having a job. And we've had those conversations. It's real life conversations, but you don't shy away from it as men, and you embrace that competition.
Just got a nice compliment from Cliff Victoria that we deal in content here as opposed to other shows that deal in rumors. So thank you for that, Cliff. And but I do have a couple of rumors I want to share. I'm just kidding. I love what Trevis shared there about his teammate Dominique Robinson. I love that fact that he divulged, or he admitted, he shared with us that there is competition between these guys. And of course, that's what the coaching staff has been for years telling us, coaching staffs, that, competition makes people better. And so they recognize that, and that's good. And yet there is still this kind of family approach to it. You know, you're going to beat me out. No, I'm going to beat you out. And if you listen to last week's show, we had Darnell Mooney talking about Justin Fields, how they kind of challenge each other to see who's going to stay later in the weight room and stay later at Hallis Hall and so forth. That's the
and didn't
vibe.
They say that they're going to be working out in this
Exactly. And Velus Jones, who is another guy on my list coming up here, he said the same thing. I'm going to be joining those guys and stuff. So, this just to me, last week, I think, we started off this show with like about 45 minutes of kind of pessimistic stuff. This, I don't think I have a pessimistic thought in my mind right now about this team. I'm just on cloud nine about the possibilities. I'm just feeling very optimistic about what could potentially happen. And I think, Dan, you've instilled that in me. And so I'm going to blame you if the fucking Bears win only 3 games this season.
Something else real quick that I was thinking about, and I didn't mean to like drift a little bit during Jordan's analysis, but I was just kind of getting together like where I was going next with like, in the scheme of things here, what we're going to highlight as positive.
Mm-hmm.
But I went back to offensive line in my head, and I confess, we're in the middle of the offseason. These guys are rookies. They may not even make the team, so I don't know all their names yet. I'm just keeping it real with you. But it seemed like one of the guys' names was Kramer, and the other one was named Zach something. There was like 3 other linemen that we drafted after Braxton Jones.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we know anything about these guys? Have they looked good? I haven't heard shit. So maybe I was just hoping, like, man, maybe our draft picks can make the team and be good, solid reserves.
Yeah.
Even more depth on the line.
I think that's a very, very strong possibility. The kid Thomas and the other one, Kramer, I think those guys are definitely fighting for jobs that they could potentially win. Kramer, the center from Illinois, as Laz says in the chat, those guys are more likely to be practice squad players, but with the potential that if they are needed during the course of the season because of injury, Derek Thomas, those guys, they should be more than adequate to go in there and get the job done. Now, of course, you're going to line them up against a premier defensive lineman. That might not be the best matchup for them, but I feel really good about the potential of those guys. These guys are some good swings. Greg Gabriel still has hope for Latavius Simmons. He still really likes him and thinks he's going to make the team. I felt the same way when he said that.
Yeah, Greg knows more football than I do, man. But that guy, I thought that, some of the people we mentioned before in the secondary that played poorly, but that guy.
Mm-hmm. That was not.
Guy.
Yeah,
he was put in. No way he's making the team, but
he was put into
more than me.
Well, he was put into a tough spot last year. Last year was his rookie year, and because of injuries, they got thrown in. And we know what the Nagy organization did. They didn't prepare anybody for anything. I don't know what the fuck those guys are doing. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But back to Dominique Robinson, man. I love everything about that guy. His potential is unlimited, and perhaps that potential will be realized in his rookie year and take us from fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs.
We always say that we need to build through the draft.
Yep.
And maybe this is kind of like that 83 draft or the 2000 draft with Mike Brown and Brian Urlacher.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get a couple of home runs and then, Urlacher and Mike Brown had us in the playoffs the second year in 01.
Exactly. I got 2 more players on my list, but before I bring them in, I want to bring in Mr. Johnny Santucci. Do you know who he is, Dan? Have you ever met John Santucci?
I have met Mr. Santucci in real life and on the microphone. While you do Chooch's intro, if you don't mind, I'm going to go take a piss.
You go take a piss, and then I'll
be right back.
I will welcome my man in, Johnny Santucci. John, how are you? Let me get Dana Garrett's face out of your face. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good, Aldo. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm having a fun time tonight. I'm filled with optimism. I know you have had kind of the pessimistic feelings I've had in the past, but listening to any of this and working on your own thoughts, where are you at right now?
We can't help it, can we, Aldo?
Exactly, brother.
Too long. I started watching Bears football in 1974. So.
Yep, and me about 5-6 years earlier than that. So yes, it's a well-earned pessimism.
Barflies need to understand this.
Exactly.
I'm kind of buoyed. I'm being pulled in two different directions because of yours and my past experience with this team, just the jaded nature, and then as well the schedule. You and I talked before the show. It's like the schedule is kind of cream, it's just there's no opponent on there that really is formidable, except maybe the Packers. I mean, the Patriots, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of chances here to at least play teams that are as good as us, or equal footing or worse, So there's optimism there, and then of course it helps to have a coaching staff that compared to the last coaching staff seems to know what it's doing.
Exactly.
So
every time these guys have a presser, and every time I hear the players talking about the coaching staff, I become more and more impressed. When Eberflus had his first press conference, I was like, oh shit, here we go with the coaching cliches. Here we go with, kind of the white bread approach to coaching. But that's starting to dissipate, and his CEO approach to being the head coach, and the fact that he's got great teachers as the coordinators and the position coaches, that to me is working. And all of this talk about, all these problems they've been having in the OTAs and stuff. Fuck that, man. They're just fucking drawing the blueprints, and they're drawing it with an eraser. And so they're checking things out and making sure that these combinations of players work and stuff. When I'm going to kill to get some passes to practice at Hallis Hall, I want to see with my own eyes, and if I see something terrible, I'm going to let people know, because I have been kicking myself for the last 2 years. I saw practices run by Matt Nagy that I was just not impressed with, but I always took that kind of fan approach. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to continue to speak, let my eyes do the talking. So hopefully you can come down and attend one of those practices with us, brother.
Yeah, and they just released the training camp schedule today.
Oh, really?
I think so. I did punch that up here. Bears, it was today. Bears announce 10 a.m. this morning. Bears announce training camp schedule. Will be at Hallis Hall in Lake Forest from July 26th through August 21st. During that span, 11 practices will be open to the public.
Yes.
All 11 practices are scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. Will require a free ticket for entry. The sessions are slated for July 28th, July 29th, July 30th, and August 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th, 11th, 15th, and 20th. So pretty good spread out of practice days. You can find those at chicagobears.com/camp is where you can get your free tickets.
I will be, as soon as this show is over, I will be.
See, it's not just all rumors here.
That's right, baby. We got facts. By the way, I got a question for Don Burr, who's in the chat room, and I just put up one of his comments.
But this is Don Burr 2.0 because I nuked the first Don.
I love it. I got a question for Don Burr. Don, who would you rather have at quarterback, Goff or Justin Fields? Who would you rather have as your foundational quarterback, Justin Fields? If he picks Goff, then he's drunk. It's not Don Burr 2.0. It's Don Burr alcohol level 2.0.
Does he know what the joke about him was?
No, I don't think so. Don, did you hear the joke earlier? If you did, I'm sorry. But how was that piss, Dan? It's a good one.
He picked Goff.
He said Goff. He's proven. Can you believe that, Dan?
Yeah. Now we know there's nothing up.
Game as a member of the Rams, and he has gone to a Super Bowl, so we can't take that away from him. But I know his last year with the Rams, like, they started some kid I'd never heard of in the playoff game to avoid playing him in the postseason, though.
Yeah.
Who I guess is their backup for Stafford now.
Mm-hmm.
So the coaching staff completely lost all faith in him. And it's not like he looked great in Detroit. That's not to say that he can't rebound, but Goff is starting to look like one of these guys that's probably going to play for like 6 teams before he's done.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And
he's Brad Johnson.
I'm sorry.
And Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right.
He's Brad Johnson without a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, I don't even think he's that. I don't think he's a smart kid. If you remember, Goff was on Hard Knocks and he didn't know whether the sun rises on the east or the west. That's just a stupid person. And he's got, he's got good physical skills, but he doesn't know which way is west and east. That tells me. I mean, that's kind of like a Wonderlic test, and I know the Wonderlic test is not a good determiner. That's a word. Is not a good way to decide whether a player is going to be good. But I don't want a dumb quarterback, and Jared Goff is a dumb guy, and also more importantly, he has no guts. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it at Soldier Field when the Bears pass rush and sub-zero weather was after him. He fucking shit in his pants.
Oh, yeah, when he was at the Rams.
Yes. And
he did not want to be there at all.
He did not want to be there at all. And that's not what I want in my quarterback. I want in my quarterback where if there's a fierce pass rush, he's going to stand up and still try to make that fucking throw and still follow through on that throw and still get the guys in the huddle and yell at the offensive lineman like Peyton Manning would do. Give me some fucking protection and go out there in the next play and make a play. Make a play. Jared Goff would just fucking run away.
As bad as I hate to admit this, we want our quarterback to be more like Rodgers.
Well, did you have to do that, Dan?
We want a guy that's going to throw the ball. He's not afraid, and we'll talk shit if necessary. But
fuck you.
Yes, exactly. What do you think, Tooch? Are you a Goff fan?
Not really.
You have to think about that.
He doesn't have that strong of an arm. I mean, I don't see. I don't see Detroit winning a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. Let's just say that. They're going to have to upgrade.
Goff is a fucking Yugo for the Detroit Lions. That's what he is. He's a fucking Yugo. And Sanders is saying, guys, Goff's stats are better than any Bears quarterback history. Let's stay logical here. But Sanders, that doesn't mean shit. So you're comparing shit with shit. You're comparing shit with diarrhea. Which is worse? Of course, the diarrhea is worse. But that doesn't mean anything. The question is Fields or Goff. And I can't believe anybody in their right mind would want to start a team with Goff over Justin Fields. That's
in my opinion, the separation between the two are, let's break it down then. Goff led a team to Super Bowl 53, a team that was predominantly stacked though. So let's say he can be a guy that if your team is moderately ready, then maybe could come in and help you. But as a Bear fan, we think that we've got a guy that's going to be the reason that we win at some point.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that could be the quote unquote, the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Goff's never going to be the guy if he's around a winning team and maybe he can not fuck it up. But we're hoping that we win because of Fields. Now, again, we won't know that yet, but that's the idea.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of looking at it.
There's no comparison athletically between Fields and Goff. I mean, Justin Fields is a phenomenal athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff is not a phenomenal athlete. He's just a quarterback. Fields can do so many more things with his legs, running and avoiding the rush and running for positive yardage. Jared Goff doesn't do any of that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And one of the guys on my list that I think is going to help take this team from fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs is the new tight end that they signed, Ryan Griffin. And Tooch, do you mind doing me a favor? Can you look back at Ryan Griffin's stats and look at the quarterbacks that he's played with in his career? I know that he played with Deshaun Watson. He probably played last season with Zach Wilson. And any other names that you can come up, because he makes reference to that in this soundbite when he was asked about Justin Fields said something that, yeah, Ryan has been great. He'll tell me to do this, to do that. And then this was Ryan Griffin's response when a reporter brought that up.
Yeah, I don't tell him anything. He is the most focused individual I've been around, determined, hardworking. I don't see him smiling ever, really. And it's not because maybe he's not having fun out there, but this guy wants to win. And it just oozes through every movement he makes out there. And, I'm not a quarterback's coach, so I don't, he tells me what to do, and, I try to make his life a little bit easier. Again, another guy I'm really excited to see what he can do this year.
Have you played, you said you've never been around anybody like that. Have you played with people similar to that? Who does he remind you of?
Yeah, I don't want to play that game. I'm not here to give anyone bulletin board material or anything like that. I will say I played with a lot of quarterbacks in my career. Anyone can look that up, see who I played with. Justin's right there, right there. And I don't think anyone knows exactly how good he can be, but I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
Guys, do you get the feeling that he took a pot shot at Deshaun Watson and that Fields is more serious about winning and playing as opposed to Watson, who's more serious about getting anal fucked by his masseuse?
Oh, God.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt. Yep.
Don't forget
He only played with Watson 1 year.
The New England owner, Mr. Kraft.
Oh, that's right.
That article with Deshaun.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a little while here. I won't forget. That's good. But Tooch, were you able to find out any of the other quarterbacks? Zach Wilson with the Jets, Deshaun Watson, who else?
Sam Darnold, too, I believe. 2020 would have been Sam Darnold with the Jets. The Texans, he only played with Deshaun Watson in 2018. So thinking back of who the Texans
Brian
quarterbacks
Hoyer.
were before.
Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer. Can't remember who else would have been the Texans quarterbacks before Deshaun Watson.
Matt Schaub, maybe?
Yeah, Matt Schaub, maybe. Yep.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You look at this guy's stats. This is why I put him on the list. Because when you look at what the successful quarterbacks have had over the last few seasons, guys that have gone to the Super Bowl have had great success. They've got tight ends that catch 80, 90 passes, Travis Kelce types. Bears don't have that in Cole Kmet. But maybe the combination of Cole Kmet and Ryan Griffin can be consistent first down guys. Look at the amount of first downs that Griffin has had in his career. In his rookie season, he had 14. In his third season, he had 13. In his fourth season, he had 19. Fifth season, 8. Sixth season, 15. Seventh season, 19. And then a little bit of a drop-off the following season to 4, and then 14 last season with the rookie quarterback. I think this guy could potentially get 20 first downs for this team, and there's nothing that I like better than tight ends that pick up first downs for your quarterback when it's 3rd down and 8 and you really need to get the first down. This guy has the experience of doing that, and that is huge to get you from mediocrity to fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs.
So he's essentially the replacement for Jesse James.
Yes, he is. You're right about that. You're right about that. I don't think he's as good as Zach Miller, who was a true pass catching tight end. I don't think he's that. If Zach Miller didn't have the injury issues that he had in his career, he could have been Travis Kelce. But unfortunately, everywhere he went prior to the Bears and with the Bears, he just always had some catastrophic injury. But he could be the perfect complement to Cole Kmet and the perfect complement for Justin Fields, who it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be that number 2 dependable pass catcher after Darnell Mooney. Will it be one of the tight ends or will it be somebody else?
So Jimmy Graham's gone.
Jimmy is gone. Yes. Thank you,
And
God.
Jesse James is gone.
Thank you, God.
I thought James.
I like Jesse.
He is. But
Horsted's a Raider, I think.
Horsted is a Raider, and I miss.
So who do we have at tight end right now?
Well, you got Ryan Griffin, and then you got another veteran, James O'Shaughnessy.
Yep. From my hometown, Naperville.
Fullback occasionally.
Oh, what the hell's his name? The U-back guy.
Yeah.
Help us out here in the chat. I should always have my fucking roster open when I do this show.
Yeah, me too.
Because I
try not to be pretentious, though. If I can't remember a name right off, I don't want to seem like a know-it-all. I just tell you, like, dude, I can't fucking think of his name right now.
CJ Williams is Rice and John. He is not the guy that Dan was referring to last year.
I'm talking about he's the guy I'm talking about. It's a white guy.
Yeah, Holtz, JP Holtz.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Holtz did well whenever they decided to use him at fullback. You know.
Exactly. Now
I don't know. Is he still on the roster?
No, I don't think he is. They have a true fullback on the roster, and the guy from Tennessee, Kyrie Blasing game. Thank you, GD, for that, or CJ Williams and the GD. So which I like. I like the fact that they've got a true fullback, because in these interviews that I've heard, in fact, it was Griffin himself. Listen to this. He was asked, "Can you describe this offense?"
Seems like we're going to be physical. We're going to run. We're going to be conditioned, well conditioned, and we're going to pound, and we're going to run sideline to sideline, and hopefully we can get some balls over the top. In the meantime, and we got to score. I mean, you got to put points on the board to win this league, and we got the guys in the room to do it. We just got to get the execution right, and that's what this part of the year is all about. This is why we're here. So we're working.
He went on to say that this is going to be a cold weather team. It's going to be prepared for cold weather games. So fucking bring on the snowfall in November, man, because I'd love for us to really live up to that moniker of playing well in bear weather. That shit hasn't happened since 85, to be honest with you.
That's what I'm about to say, 85. We had the massively cold playoff game in 87 and 88. Both in Chicago, and we lost to Washington and San Francisco.
Run heavy team, says CJ Williams, and I love that. You know why? Because that's the personnel that we have. And making big plays over the top with Velus Jones, with Darnell Mooney is definitely going to happen. With Justin Fields' arm and a team, if this team is cracking open runs of 5, 7, 9, explosive runs of plus 10, plus 15, plus 20 yards on the run game, if that's happening, this offense could be fucking explosive. And I know.
Let me make a comparison to see what you think.
Okay.
Now, once more, you'll never know, because it's one of those what if kind of questions. But you remember Dan Hampton once said that if Cutler had been around in the 80s, they'd have won 3 Super Bowls for sure.
I kind of agree with that.
Well, having said that, if you go a little bit farther to the team that Ditka had a good run with, but never got over the hump, the Neil Anderson, Brad Muster kind of team. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Late 80s, early 90s. But so Wilbur's gone and Otis Wilson's gone. You've got an above average defense now. Not great, but certainly not bad. And you've got 2 not great running backs, but certainly solid. But maybe Harbaugh and Tomczak weren't good enough to put you over the top there in that regard. Maybe. I'm not saying Harbaugh had some success with the Colts, but maybe. If Justin Fields or that type of quarterback was, say, on the 90 Bears, could the 90 Bears have won the Super Bowl?
Oh, fuck.
And if so, this team could be built the same way as, say, the 90 Bears. Your David Montgomery is Neil Anderson, except from all indications, he's a hard worker, and Neil liked to brag that he didn't work out in the offseason at all.
I know.
And that's why he was always popping hamstrings, in my opinion.
Exactly. No fucking shit. Yes.
And you got a fullback maybe that could be Muster, potentially. So, and your defense could be above average, but not necessarily great. So, like I said, maybe this could mirror the 91 Bears when you go 11-5, 10-6. Of course, there's an extra game now, but I'm just saying, if those teams have won with Fields, and if so, maybe this team mirrors that, and maybe that's an indication this team could win too. Or am I just connecting dots that aren't there?
I think it's a very intriguing hypothesis. I think that we could talk an hour about that. I'm not going to say for sure yes, but it definitely is something worth considering. One of the things that we need to do, we need to come up with a couple of topic ideas for the next show, because we're running out of sound bites to play and stuff like that. So I'd love to do, with your knowledge, Dan, of these teams from the 80s, 90s, and the early aughts, we should target some of these seasons and talk about what ifs and reflect back on teams that almost made it and stuff. I think that'd be a fascinating show, man.
I would agree. And just thinking about Fields in that era, probably the only quarterback in the NFL in, say, 90 that seemed like him at all. And I don't mean in skin color, but just in absolute athleticism, was Randall Cunningham. And Philly didn't win with Randall.
Yeah.
But Buddy didn't win with anybody except for the Bears. So, right. But what I'm saying is, you would put a quarterback in that offense, in theory, that the rest of the league kind of at that time didn't have. And if you have his skill set, I just can't imagine. Or if you had like a Cunningham there with the Bears, man, I can't imagine us not winning. So if you can build this team structured around the style, because you got to give Ditka credit, man. They fucking ran the ball, and they ran the ball well.
Yep.
Whether that's Mustard ran successfully as a fullback, and Neal when he wasn't fucking hurt. And, they didn't have the best wide receivers, didn't have the best quarterback play, but it was good enough to win a bunch of games. So if you can structure, and they were a running cold weather team. So if you could get that kind of team built here, and you have a quarterback that elevates everything you've had previously just on pure athleticism, then maybe when we're talking about things that help us get to the playoffs, that number one, maybe over Nagy, is Justin Fields.
Boy, the possibilities. Holy fucking shit.
Sky's the fucking limit. I know they keep saying that he's not looking good, but from Fields' own admission, he said he wasn't ready yet.
Yes.
He said it's a new offense. We'll be okay in September, but right now we're still putting it together. And we know he's putting in the effort.
Yes.
They've already talked about going to Florida or whatever state what was it, Florida?
Florida, yes.
Yeah, Florida, to work with him and trying to build that cohesive chemistry. And, I'm not saying Jay never worked with Alshon or Marshall in the offseason, but probably not. But then again, he had kids and stuff too, so I understand. But this guy's really busting his ass to try to be, to make up for last season. So I think he's going to be good. I do.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And people who are saying that Fields has not played well in training camp just don't understand. They just don't understand. This is the installing of a whole new offense. This offense, theoretically, you don't need a pass catcher, a premier 20, 30, $40 million a year pass catcher, because it is designed to have multiple receivers have 50, 60 catches a season. I think that there is a possibility that we might see Darnell Mooney catch fewer passes this season, but the offense as a whole catch more, because their running backs are going to catch more, because the tight ends are going to catch more. Cole Kmet had 60 catches last year. He'll probably have 70, 75. O'Shaughnessy and Ryan Griffin will pitch in another 40, 50 passes. Dan, you've been talking about your hope for Equinemius St. Brown. I think you're going to see him, have more catches than the second or third stringer wide receiver. We're going to have a one of those offenses that you're spreading the ball around to the open guy, and there are going to be plenty of open guys because that's how this offense is designed. It is designed to scheme players open. And so the one key thing is, of course, is the protection. Got to have that extra microsecond of protection. And of course, Justin Fields being better at recognizing what the defense is doing than our previous quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky.
No more curls?
No more curls. Well, it's like interesting. You need curls against a team that's playing zone. You need to have curls. But the problem with Nagy's offense was that everybody ran the curl. There were no options. There was nobody going deep. There was nobody doing something on the flat.
I was going to bring this up. Can we talk about this comment? Because
read that out for Dan.
For Dan, GD says, I feel like the only thing we lack is linebackers behind Roquan and Nick Morrow, and also a big go-get-the-ball receiver. So, I mean, this is like something I wanted to bring up during the show because linebacker, nobody is really talking about linebacker that much because, but to me, I think it's an issue. You have Roquan in a contract year, and Roquan and contracts, those kind of things, those are volatile. Where he does crazy Roquan things. I talked about this last week. And Nick Morrow hasn't played since 2020 or 2020. So, I mean, he didn't play last year. He didn't get out of the field last year. And then after that, who do you got? Can you name a guy? Joe Thomas? I mean, there's not that many guys. Sam Kamara? I mean, who's going to step up at linebacker? I mean, I don't think the linebacker depth is as good as everyone thinks it is. I could be wrong.
No, I agree with you, Tooch, but I think that you're probably going to see 3 linebackers out in the field 20% of the time, and so I think that's why it shouldn't be that huge of a concern. But you're right, Morrow not playing much recently, and I'm thinking that Joe Thomas, the veteran, 8 years in the league, he could be helpful in that position to back up those 2 linebackers. And then hopefully the kid from Wisconsin, Jack Sanborn, who I'm surprised he wasn't drafted. He was signed as an undrafted free agent. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him. And Sam Kamara has done some interesting things, although I think he might be more of a defensive end pass rushing kind of guy as opposed to a 4-3 linebacker. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think your concern is legit, Tooch. That is one of the areas where we could definitely use some help. And as Foster Covers puts it, we will get linebacker, offensive line, and wide receiver help during these final cuts. And unfortunately, that's where this team is in order to, really get a team with a lot of depth and maybe some help at a starter position or 2. It's these late roster cuts are going to be important for the Bears to land some help. Unlike the Lions, who just have no fucking hope at all of ever winning a fucking title, much less a division championship.
And some of those Ryan Pace guys are going to be gone. Everyone's like high on Daz Newsome. I'm not so sure he makes the roster.
Mm-hmm.
He was only on the team last year as, for like return depth. And we got plenty of guys that are as returners. I think Dan Aguirre and when else we talked about all the returners that we have. I think Dan was like, what are we doing why are we drafting all these kick returners? So,
yeah, exactly.
But you've got Ebner and Khalil Herbert ran kicks back last year
and did it very well.
Yeah. And then
but you know what? It's all about speed. You want to get as much speed as possible, and you only really need 2 returners, one for the punt team and one for the kickoff team. But these guys do have value at other positions, and there's always injuries and so forth. And if the guy is talented, I don't give a fuck. Bring him out to the field and let him fight. And like we were talking about just a few minutes ago about the competition being valuable. All right, Dan, are you ready for my last guy on my list? It's no surprise. It's Velus Jones. It's fucking Velus Jones, the 3rd round draft pick who is going to be the yak leader on this team, yards after catch. this guy is going to fucking create explosive plays for us. And I like Dan, when you've been talking about Equinemius St. Brown, he's on my list too of guys who could potentially, raise eyebrows and say, holy shit, the Packers really let this guy go. But right now, my love is for Velus Jones. And I got a soundbite here of Velus talking about what they have thrown at him so far in camp. And it's kind of an interesting response here. It's a very short sound, about 17 seconds.
I've been moving around quite a bit, especially in the OTA period. And so I had a good amount of balls thrown my way. And so that's just, boosting my confidence level up in this offense. And, as I, continue to work on that. And so that's a good feeling.
Love the fact that he's getting that work at the slot position, at the outside position. I bet you he's been lining up at that running back position like Deebo Samuel. And I want to play one more soundbite from Velus. This is him talking about manifesting, which is, I find this whole thing fascinating because when I was a kid, I read Bill Russell's autobiography. And one of the things that stuck out to me is he said that when we were on that bus ride to that next game, I would close my eyes and just visualize the game, visualize who I'm playing against, visualize the block shots, visualize the outlet passes, visualize where I was going to be lining up down low, visualizing everything. And that's what Velus Jones has been doing. Listen to the young kid.
Man, I would say definitely has a positive impact because, I like to manifest a lot. Before I go to sleep, when I'm looking over plays, I like picture myself running a route or catching a touchdown. And so I'm big on manifesting. And so, I can picture a lot of great things this season, even on certain plays and certain routes thrown by Justin. But I definitely know that, I'm not going to let them down. I'm definitely going to, be that player they draft, that guy that's good with yards after the catch, that guy that make plays out of nothing. And so I'm definitely going to bring that to the table.
Dan, I got a prediction. Want to hear my prediction?
I'm listening.
You are going to be buying a Velus Jones jersey this season.
Ooh, I hope so.
I think it's going to happen. By the way, Dan,
I never bought Devin Esters.
By the way, to totally digress here for a second, I'm looking in my daughter's closet. She moved out several years ago, and I haven't looked in her closet for a long time. And what do I find there? A girl's size medium Rex Grossman Super Bowl jersey. I thought of you immediately. I bought all these jerseys for the kids when they were all living at home, and there was an Urlacher jersey for a little girl, and a Rex Grossman Super Bowl jersey, and a Walter Payton jersey. I immediately thought of you. My collection is not nearly as yours, and it certainly wouldn't fit any human being, that's a male or size medium or more. But nonetheless, getting back to Velus Jones, I love this kid. I think he's going to pay immediate dividends. Think of Tariq Cohen's rookie year, Velus Jones. What do you think?
I hope so. Tariq was a monster in 2017. I just felt like Nagy didn't know how to use him after that. You got to give Fox credit for they seemed to get him outside, man. If he was running the ball, he wasn't running in between the guard and the center and like the fucking two-hole the way Nagy had him. It's like they tried to get him, down the sidelines where he could outrun everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the thing with Jones. Maybe he catches a screen or something like a wheel route and he's gone.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I'm trying to find out what number Velus Jones is wearing. Let me scroll down the chart here. It is good old number.
Is it 14?
30? No, that's Jalen Jones.
12. He's 12. He's wearing
12.
Robinson's number. Yeah, that's right.
Allen Robinson's number.
Yeah.
Eric Kramer's number.
I was just going to say that, Dan, because you've got one or two Eric Kramer jerseys.
I've got the white authentic Kramer.
Wow.
So before you guys move on, I know Aldo just gave his players. I want to give one of my own.
Please give as many as you'd like.
So a guy who's been getting a little bit of buzz, with Robert Quinn and Al Qadim Muhammad sitting out, and of course Dominique Robinson getting attention, but a guy named Carson Taylor has been flashing at defensive end. This is a rookie player out of Northern Arizona, 6'3", 241, who's been showing him, he's been getting reps, with first and second team. So maybe we could get a Jordan Silvera, Carson Taylor scouting report coming up.
There you go,
here.
Jordan. You got an assignment. Please help us out here. The rookie is 6'3", like you said, 241 pounds out of Northern Arizona. And this guy is so unknown that the website doesn't even know.
He's wearing Danny Trevathan's number in case you want to watch some training camp this summer.
Cutler's number at the end of last season, though, number 6.
Okay, right. That's right. He changed. Yeah.
That's one of the cool things about Dan. You go to a football game with him, and he's spotting out people wearing jerseys. And like we were at the Lions game in Chicago last season, and he's commenting of, "Oh, look at that guy! He's wearing a Herman Moore jersey, and look at that guy! He's wearing a Barry Sanders jersey, and so forth." That's a huge like a hobby for you, isn't it, Dan? That you love collecting jerseys and recognizing them and talking about them.
Yeah, I remember when we were in Cleveland, we saw a Bob Avellini jersey.
That's right. Good old number 7.
Shit, even Bob Avellini doesn't have a Bob Avellini jersey.
No, he's got an arrest record, but not a jersey.
I think the time to worry, Dan, is when you see a Don Burr jersey at the Lions game. time to
I would love to buy
back.
a shit emoji, and put Don Burr's name on the back. That would be cool. Don, if we ever meet up together, I got a present for you. All right, guys. Anybody else, Tooch, on your list of guys that we should maybe be looking out for on your radar that's caught your attention?
Let's see. Some of the guys that I liked are already gone, but I like to see this Elijah Hicks at safety.
There you go, baby.
Supposed to be a pretty big hitter, good car. I'd like to see what he can do in there. Maybe a little glimpse at the future.
You remember him, Dan? He was the guy that put out that video when he was drafted by the Bears. He starts doing push-ups. He was fired up. He was ready to fucking hit anybody that came near his side. This guy is a guy that could bring the lumber. Talk about a guy that will play in the box. He might be the heir apparent to Eddie Jackson, and we might see two guys who are great in the box guys, but Jaquan Brisker has more talent playing the center field. So he would be that guy who is kind of shifting more towards the center field position. But yeah, this kid is special. He's somebody to definitely keep an eye on. What number does he wear?
We're getting some good comments in the chat room too.
We always do on the show.
Yeah, we always do. Sam Kamara might get some. He was projected at 3 Tech coming out of college. That might be a name to watch in training camp. And I know you mentioned Tavon Young, of course, who's the veteran slot corner. But Thomas Graham, who was a rookie last year, has been making some head waves as a slot corner as well. That might be a good training camp battle as well. Is Thomas Graham versus Tavon Young.
Tavon Young, man, please stay healthy. Please stay healthy. And I love Thomas Graham, but if we're going to go from fucking mediocrity to the goddamn playoffs in 2022, Tavon Young is going to have a big role in that because of his veteran leader experience and the fact that he's a proven guy. And Graham could be that guy, but having both of those guys capable of playing the slot position, if in fact Graham is going to be a slot cornerback in this league, would be outstanding. Dieter Iceland, Foster Covers comes up with this name. He's a guy that Bears fans have kept in their radar since he was acquired by the Bears a couple of years ago. He's a guest here in the bar.
Great story.
Yeah, it's great story. Great guy. I'd love for him to make this squad and fight for a starting position. Who knows? Maybe it's finally Dieter's turn. The thing about it is that if you haven't been to training camp, you just don't really know much about Dieter nowadays because they're just we haven't seen him on the field in a football game. Has he had a NFL appearance, Dan? Do you know Dieter Iceland? I think he has. I think he played a game or two last season when the team was.
I don't recall.
Yeah. But he could be a guy that could surprise us. Dieter Iceland. Remember the name. Where's he from, Tooch? You remember he's from Germany?
He's from South Africa, and he played at Yale.
Oh, that's right. Look at you. Holy shit.
South African.
He's got a great attitude as J2K.
I thought you were going to say he's got a great ass.
It's something that I look at regularly of these football players.
You didn't always talk about Ifedi's ass, it seemed like.
Yes, it did. You know, one of the things is that Walter Payton got me into that whole thing because he used to joke about Richard Dent's ass being so high up that Walter would say that Richard, in order to reach for his wallet, would reach over his shoulder. Over his shoulder.
I remember that story.
Yeah, and then Walter himself had a glorious ass, and then I learned, that running backs who had those big, strong gluteus maximus muscles, as Walter developed right down the street from where I live on the Peyton Hill, that's important for players. So yeah, I love looking at guys' asses, and the bigger the better.
When you said the bigger the better, I'm not sure if that actually was good for Craig Hayward when he was a Bear in '93.
Yeah, well, he was past his prime there, right?
But as big as he was with the Bears in '93, and he was as big as he had ever been.
Yeah,
like he ended up having I'm fairly certain he had 2 more 1,000-yard years after the Bears with the Falcons.
Well, it figures, right?
Yeah, I mean, when he was with the Bears, though, he was 340.
Yeah. Wow, 340. Holy shit.
He wore number 45 that year.
Yeah. Was he that big though? Man, I can imagine being 300, but
that is wild. Yeah, I remember old Ironhead Hayward being big, but 340. Holy shit! At the running back,
he was as big. I'm telling you, he was only a Bear 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he was gone to Atlanta, he had lost 100 pounds.
That is wild. These guys. One of the things about these guys, this crop of Chicago Bears, is when you hear the interviews, they are invested into being in shape. One of the recurring questions they were asked by reporters is, what are you going to do during this time off before training camp? And all of them were talking about staying in shape, watching my weight, just doing the right things, staying out of trouble and stuff. But the conditioning part is something that the culture of this team has changed primarily, first and foremost, with conditioning. Every player is talking about it. What we saw with the Matt Nagy teams, sorry, Matt, but it's true. This team was not, your teams were not in shape. After the 2018 season, they were not in fucking shape. And
that's true.
And these teams for Eberflus appears to me like they will be.
Even like I said, Dan Hampton and them they were always pointing out that Mack wasn't in shape. Now,
Right.
to me, you don't look at Khalil Mack and say, "Oh, that dude's fat." I don't think they were saying that.
Mhm.
They said that he wasn't in football shape.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying that that's one of the reasons that his effectiveness had declined was because he wasn't in football shape, which again differs from just being able to look good at the airport.
It's a good point there, Dan. And if you talk to Raiders fans, that was a common criticism of him too, is that he disappears, and maybe why he's disappearing in these Raiders games is because of conditioning, that he couldn't, maintain. A guy like that, you want him out in the field for every fucking play. Well, okay. And if that's what's being called of you, you better fucking have great cardio. And it's funny that when he did a couple of press conferences during the pandemic where he was on the bike as he's talking and he's sweating and the words are coming out like, oh, and it's funny because I almost felt like, come on, Khalil, first of all, work out during your own fucking time. This is an obligation you have for the team to meet with the media. Don't fucking make it look like you're always on the bike. Take 10 minutes off, get off the fucking bike, answer these questions, give us something to talk about, be a little respectful of the media. And that's not what Khalil did. Now, I didn't say that publicly at the time because I know if I would have put that on Twitter, I would have been eviscerated by Bears
Like
fans.
I was all the time.
Yes, you were. and I was part of it too. Oh man. All right, guys. We got about a half hour here before my man Dan has to go save some lives. And then after the half hour mark, Tucci and I will stick around a little. We're going to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs, see if he can give me a winner. And whatever else might come to mind. But I wanted you guys primarily to talk about what you may have seen or not seen.
I've got some stuff for you on this segment this week.
Okay, can you guys sing a song or something? Because I got to take a piss real quick.
Yeah, I got some news for Dan that I think he might enjoy hearing.
Well, go ahead with that, and then I'll tell you about the movies I've seen when Aldo returns.
Yes,
okay,
right.
Give me 60 seconds.
So I think, Dan, you'll be happy because I think that there's a couple guys that you don't like who won't be on this team this season. And one of them is Kindle Vildor. I think he's
Vildor. I mean, again, it's not personal, but
right.
I mean, he's been incredibly ineffective.
Right. He's not really suited for the outside. He wasn't that good at slot corner. And we've got Tavon Young and Thomas Graham now who are quite capable of manning that position. And the other slot corner is Duke Shelley. I think
Shelley, I have no faith in.
Yeah, Poles is going to get rid of these Ryan Pace guys. You know, he's already started. You know, some of these guys are gone that Pace brought in. He's making the roster his own. And I think, Vildor and Duke Shelley, I don't think they'll make the team. You might see one of them cut and brought back to the practice squad. My guess would be Vildor. I don't think Duke Shelley's going to make it. He hasn't shown anything.
The one guy that he let leave, or as a free agent that from the previous regime that I wish were still here, is Alex Bars.
Yeah.
Because of the depth issue on the offensive line, Bars was a guy that could step in and play center, guard, or tackle.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Latavius Simmons would be another guy I think that would be gone. That's a pace guy. I think Greg Gabriel has talked about him a little bit. A small school guy. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think they like Sam Mustipher at right guard. You know, I'm hoping they pick up somebody off the street, but J2K Larson says Bars was a good backup, but a little too stiff. I still would prefer him over Sam Mustipher, though. I think. But
Sam gets thrown back in the offensive line quite frequently.
Yeah.
You know, he gets pushed backwards is what I'm trying to say at the time of the snap.
Yeah,
I think Aldo's shitting on us. He says he was going to piss, but this is getting into defecation time here.
And then I think we talked about Braxton Jones. This dude's 6'5", 310, but I mean he doesn't look that big. You know, that's my worry. I think I'm not so sure he wins that left tackle job. I could be wrong, but I mean I think a year of NFL weight program and this guy's probably a backup this year and maybe more likely a starter next year. I could be wrong though.
Some people said at the time he was drafted that his feet were too slow. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact he had only given up 3 sacks in college, they said that his feet he didn't have the quickness to play at the pro game. But if you listen to what people are writing right now, it appears that he's going to be in the running for starting left tackle. So
yeah, we'll have to see once the pads come on how he does. But people seem to like Sam Mustipher a little bit more than me. You know, Mustipher's a good depth piece to have. Mustipher's athleticism could make him a good fit in the scheme that would go along with what Olin Kreutz has been saying. He loves Sam Mustipher, Aldo. I think Aldo's back. Everyone's speculating that one, you had to drop a deuce or you were jerking off in the bathroom.
Well,
all three.
I will admit that I jerked off, and that's about how long it takes me nowadays. About 45 seconds. It takes longer to clean up than it does the actual masturbating part. Oh man! All right, so what were you guys talking about?
We were talking about how
he was talking about Bears that could be off the team this year,
right? As Poles gets
Vildor
jettisons
and
yeah.
Shelley.
Yeah, I don't think Vildor is going anywhere. Maybe Shelley. I still think there's a lot of promise in Vildor. And one of my biggest concerns about Kindle Vildor, we drop him, and then all of a sudden we're going to see him, play elsewhere like a Corey Graham and be on a Super Bowl team, contributing to a team. Let's not give up on Kindle. Duke Shelley, I can see, although he did play well in those last few games, but I don't think that's going to be that was a promise for a great career.
Do you think, Aldo, let me ask you then, do you think Ryan Poles, may have a predisposition towards making the roster his own image and getting rid of some of these pace guys, or no?
I really don't. I do believe that Ryan Poles is fully committed towards rebuilding the roster, but if there are leftover players from the Ryan Pace era that fit into what he and Eberflus want to do, I don't think he's got the ego to say, I don't want that guy that, Ryan Pace will get. No, he's not going to do that. Ryan Poles is not going to do that. He knows that the faster he wins, the bigger embrace that he's going to get from Chicago Bears fans, the better it's going to be for the organization. This team needs investors for their Arlington Park stadium, so they need to win quickly, but they're going to do it their way, which means we have to have a little patience. But I just don't see that in Ryan Poles and this organization of them having, ego issues. Swanky said it an hour and a half ago. I think this team, the leadership is much more fair-minded, and we don't have to deal with the egotistical issues from like our head coach, Matt Nagy. Like Dan likes to say, fucking guy was a narcissist.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Fuck him.
And don't mind me interrupting. I've got 4 things I really want to tell you about movies.
Yeah, let's go.
Awesome.
Yep.
And I want to get, if you all have seen them, because again, these are old films, but they were all new to me. So I'm going to start. One was directed by Martin Scorsese from 1974, and she would win Academy Award for Best Actress for this performance, starring Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah.
You may recall her from The Exorcist.
Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Which featured a very young Jodie Foster, like pre-Taxi Driver Jodie Foster. It had a very young Harvey Keitel in it. It was not my favorite film. I didn't dislike it. I don't think it could be filmed today because it really accentuates that, like, a certain weakness from or about women in general. It's certainly a different time. The film came out in 74, so you can't judge it through the lens of 2022. You have to look at the culture 50 years ago. And it's a little rough to watch because, like, all the men seem to be, like, emboldened, like, to where they can just fucking hit women anytime they want to. And that's certainly disconcerting. But even at one point, Ellen Burstyn's like, I just can't live without a man. And, like, Chris Christopherson's character just, like, smacked the shit out of her kid. Like, don't get me wrong, the kid's annoying as fuck. But if I were having sex with this lady, and that's what they were doing, they weren't officially dating, but they liked each other and didn't want to admit it. There's no way I could lay a hand on her fucking child. But again, maybe I'm just being judgmental through the lens of today versus the lens of then. But I thought this film was a little bit overrated. Like, I didn't think there was anything spectacular about it. It wasn't bad, but I was surprised to see she won Best Actress for it. What are your? Did you see it? I've seen it, and it's on. You probably saw it on Turner Classic Movies because it was on just the other night.
Did.
Yeah. So here's the thing with that movie. It was definitely a movie about its time. During that era, there were a number of movies that were showing the struggles of women. The 1960s saw the dissatisfaction of women, and they started burning their bras, and they were, birth control started to happen. And so there was this huge transformation in the United States women, girl power, woman power, and so forth. And so that movie got critical acclaim because it was like one of these movies where finally we get to tell the story of a normal housewife and a hardworking middle-class woman, single parent, and what she's got to go through and so forth. And so a lot of, I think, of the acclaim that movie got was because of its subject matter, but not necessarily for its artistry, because I definitely didn't, it's a Scorsese movie, but I would not attribute that as one of his most artistic successes. Its success had more to do with the subject matter than anything else. So I don't know, Tooch, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I did see the film, the most recent film by the guy who wrote Taxi Driver and was part of that Brat
Paul
Pack.
Schrader.
Paul Schrader. I saw that recent film, which I'll talk about later. Okay. Because it is it is kind of a weird movie if you haven't seen it yet. But
what's the title of the film?
It's called The Card Counter.
Oh, that's right. You sent us the what you call it.
Right, and it's got some weird stuff in it, man. It's masquerading as a straight like card hustler drama, but it's so weird. It's got this backdrop of eccentric characters and post-traumatic stress disorder from the Iraq War and Abu Ghraib in the backdrop of it, which I'll talk about later. But cool. Paul Schrader and Martin Scorsese certainly had that relationship of writer, director, and then Paul Schrader went on to make his own movies like American Gigolo and I forget some of the other ones that he's
done.
Some
big box office successes and some artistic failures, like Mishima, which is I thought it was, when I saw it in the theaters with one other person, I thought it was artistic success, and I was shocked that it was just panned by critics and audiences stayed away. But if you ever get a chance, guys, watch this movie called Mishima. It's about a Japanese samurai guy, and the artistry in that movie is floored me. But yeah, Schrader is an interesting character because he came from a very strict religious upbringing, and then when he went off to college, all of a sudden, holy fuck, there's a whole world here where people are doing drugs and thinking about shit that I was told not to think about. And he started writing scripts about stuff like that, like Taxi Driver and stuff. He's a very, very fascinating filmmaker, writer type. Dan, what else you got?
All right, so I was on Wikipedia while I was watching this, and I clicked on Ellen's filmography. And I saw, wow, she's in a film with Nicholson. So the next one I watched was The King of Marvin Gardens from 1972, which again starred Jack Nicholson. It had Ellen Burstyn in it again. The gentleman that Nicholson kills in The Shining, Scatman Crothers, he's in it as well. And Bruce Dern. And as I would learn, he and Bruce were together in a film from the 60s where Nicholson is a San Francisco hippie called Psych Out. So I watched both of these films. Have you seen either one of these?
King of Marvin Gardens, and what was the other title?
Psych Out.
Psych Out.
I have not seen
Psychotic.
I have not seen any of those two.
Well, The King of Marvin Gardens is weird. I know you said you never watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Right.
I liked Fear and Loathing a lot, the Johnny Depp film, but the one before that where Bill Murray played Hunter S. Thompson called Where the Buffalo Roam, it had no plot and just rambled just aimlessly. That's kind of the way The King of Marvin Gardens was. It was so strange too. Nicholson plays the straight-laced, almost boring humdrum guy with no idiosyncrasies, and Bruce Dern's the guy that's just over the top fucking crazy, his brother. And Ellen Burstyn said that initially Jack was the other character. And when they got on set, somewhere along the lines, just as a goof, they swapped it and just started playing the other characters, and the director went with it. So then Nicholson played the straight lace, and Dern was, again, the eccentric fellow. And without, I mean, I don't know if you want me to give you spoilers or not, but it didn't have much of a plot, but it had a shocking end, I guess. But again, do you want spoilers or no?
No, is it on TCM?
No, I rented it on iTunes because I couldn't find it anywhere. I paid like $4 to watch it.
Okay, well, let me see if I can watch it this week, because I'd love to talk to you about it, because it's a film that's been, King of Marvin Gardens has been on my list for years and years. The Parkway Theater here in Chicago used to be a repertory theater, and so they would show old movies all the time. And every time, King of Marvin Gardens, I'm gonna go check it out. And something would happen. I never got a chance to go see it. And so if it's out there somewhere, I'm definitely gonna watch it. We can butt heads on whether we liked it or not. Okay.
I didn't dislike it. It just was, I don't know. I don't want to call it boring. I mean, I liked it, but I expected more, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then we move on to Psych Out. Psych Out goes back to 68. It's a counterculture. It's produced by Dick Clark, but I realize why, because they had to license all this music. Nicholson plays he's supposedly an aspiring musician. And he meets this young lady who's a teenage runaway that's deaf, and that becomes a big part of the. She can read lips really well and understand what you're saying, but as the film moves on, of course, they fall in love. It's got, like I said, Bruce Dern's in it again, and Nicholson, and he's, like I said, he's playing music, but it's a lot about drugs and stuff too. And like at one point of the film, they've given this poor girl who can't hear, and she's never done any drugs. She's come to San Francisco to find her brother, whom was played by Bruce Dern. And the one guy wants to fuck her, and she's kind of Nicholson's girlfriend. But as you can see from culture in that era, and I read this in Robbie Krieger's book too, of The Doors, the guitar player. Robbie's wife, to this day, he got with her in the late 60s, but at one point she had fucked Jim Morrison prior to them getting together. So Jim, like over and over, just thought, well, I can fuck her anytime I want because I've already fucked her. And as Robbie put out in his book, he said, you know, I can't compete with Morrison. I mean, come on, that's Jim Morrison. And part of our culture then was, if you object to like someone having sex like that, you're the one who's uptight and lame. Our culture is supposed to be cool, and you're supposed to just be chill. And he's like, it would have been worse on me to show objection to them than them doing it at that time within that context. But thankfully he was like, I'm glad she didn't. We got married. The rest is history. But so that's kind of like that in the film. But in the film, this guy that wants to fuck her gives her this huge dose of whatever the drug is. And if she's never been high, and she ends up on the Golden Gate Bridge, unable to hear, and is seeing shit, and the cars are coming at her. So it's quite the ending in that regard. But like I said, I don't want to spoil it for you. But Nicholson with hair down the middle of his back is interesting. I had to watch this one on YouTube. It wasn't available anywhere else. I could buy the Blu-ray if I wanted. It was available on Amazon for like $22 or something, but I couldn't find it streaming anywhere. But it was on YouTube. Again, it's called Psych Out. The last one that I watched, another Nicholson one that I had seen a couple. I realized when I started watching it, some of the scenes felt vaguely familiar from when I was a kid, just on HBO or something, but I never watched it all together. And I bet you've seen this one. It's a remake. The film's called The Postman Always Rings Twice.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got a very young Jessica Lange in it.
With Nicholson,
I
yes.
mean, extremely young, extremely hot. And like her voice is, I guess where she smokes, her voice is so different then than it is now. But I mean, that's 40 years ago. But I guess you've seen this, right?
Yes, I have seen that. I didn't like it really as much as the original, which was late 1940s. It was a seminal Hollywood picture, a film noir. Again, you know, looking at it from kind of a sociological standpoint, this was a movie where the female character wants to kill her husband and then run off with the postman. And but the issue is that, you know, she's not an honest woman. And so this was one of those movies that one of the early films that was artistically good and portrayed a woman to be a villain. And so that sparked a lot of Hollywood movies with that same theme, where the woman was called the femme fatale. And so the original I thought was fantastic. I'm trying to remember who played the role in the original, but nonetheless, the remake, I don't remember it too well. I just remember I was kind of bored by it.
A couple things that stood out to me because I'm a guy. Angelica Houston showed her breast, which I did not expect to see.
Well, that's a treat.
And she was really young too, so I was like, "Oh my god!" Well, let me hit pause.
Sexy.
Yeah,
Sexy
she
woman.
was with Nicholson later in the film that Sean Penn directed. 95. What's it called?
Fuck. I know I've seen this movie and I like it.
And Angelica Houston's his ex-wife in it.
Yes. What the fuck?
And yeah, I'll get to that in a second. If I have to look it up, I'll look it up. But like I said, Jessica Lange is very young in it, and Angelica just shows her breasts, and that was kind of cool. But the ending was, I don't know if the original film, because I haven't seen the original, if it ended like that, but they have like a, I mean, I know Ralph Nader's not around in 1940 for them to have seatbelts yet. So, and I know the car doesn't have a seatbelt, but the very average car crash I'm supposed to buy it kills Jessica Lange at the end of it. It looked like all three of us got together with no money and a video camera and just crashed a car into something. And oh yeah, by the way, she's dead. She's dead now. And I didn't buy the ending at all. It was very ineffective the way they killed her with that car crash. It wasn't violent at all. But the movie I was trying to reference is called The Crossing Guard, where Nicholson is married to, or was married to, Angelica Houston, and they lost a child.
Oh, I thought it was Pritzi's Honor, but no, you're right.
No. Maybe they were in that too. But
Yeah, they were both in that one. Yeah.
Didn't they have like a relationship,
Yes.
Nicholson and Angelica Houston, if I remember?
Yes, you're right. They dated for a decade or so. Yeah, they had a strong
In
relationship.
The Crossing Guard, his daughter dies, and he's tormented by it, and it leads to their marriage. Disillusionment in the marriage, and suddenly they get divorced, and then the guy whom killed his daughter, who has this immense regret because he was a DUI driver or whatever, gets released from prison. So Nicholson has got it in his head that he's going to kill him. And at the end of it, I think he did shoot him a few times, but the guy lived. And at the end of it, they together end up at the fallen daughter's grave. And they both end up like praying. And I guess you could say that the movie is supposed to say that Nicholson was able to lose his hatred for the other guy because he saw genuine tears and how much remorse that he had. And they sort of had this bonding moment where the guy was basically like, you shot me a few times, but fuck it, I deserved it. I killed your daughter. And but you sort of have this cathartic moment to where they sort of, I don't know, have this understanding that everything's going to be okay moving forward. And then it goes off. So it's open-ended, but that's the way I interpret it. But that was a good film too, but I'd seen that one before. But anyway, yeah, so I'd worked all those hours last week, and like close to 80 hours. And so I got the privilege to watch some of these old movies I had never seen at night whenever things died down at work, thankfully. So
yeah, there have been a lot of rumors about Jack Nicholson's health, and that these are his, as one actor or some person anonymous, he said that he's living out his sad last days, that he is suffering from dementia. And so he hasn't talked to the media at all in I think a year and a half or 2 years. And his spokespeople are saying that he's fine, but it certainly doesn't feel that way. So hopefully,
I bet he still watched that Laker Dynasty show that we were talking about.
Yeah, maybe that drove him crazy.
Yeah, he watched that shit Winning Time. I bet you he watched.
Fucking A. He was probably pissed off about it too, just like everybody else who was in that show.
Yeah, he knew everybody personally too, and was at all those games.
Yeah. Zach Sullivan has a cool question. Who's the hottest non-hot actress that gets you going? Frances McDormand is like that for him. He doesn't know exactly why.
I have a hard time calling any woman non-hot, though. I mean, I just like women.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way, but I think I understand what Zach is saying. Is not the traditional
maybe a woman that's not noted for her sexuality.
Yeah, exactly. I think Frances McDormand is a perfect example. She's the girl next door that you want to fuck. Let's tell it like it is. Dude, you got any actress like that comes to mind?
Does Helen Mirren count? Or
fucking A, I think so.
Yeah, okay. She's really hot, but
She's
she's
the
not like
grandmother next
Yeah.
door to you in the gilf.
That'd be the double G.
That's right. She's got a beautiful figure. Yeah, I definitely would put her on that list. Dan, you take a swing at it without
I
offending
always
it?
think of the same woman whenever someone asks me this. It's that Annabella Ciara, who I just love so much.
That's a good one, Dan.
She's a fucking
From Jungle
beauty.
Fever, and she was in The Sopranos, and
Yeah, no,
The
I
Hand That
don't think
Rocks
she
the
falls in
Cradle.
this
She was allegedly
category.
raped by Harvey Weinstein.
Dan, I don't think she falls in this category. Anyone that would say
Yeah,
she isn't hot needs to get their eye lenses examined. She is hot, hot, hot. There's no doubt about it. Man, that's a great fucking question.
Yeah.
I got one for you. Well, no, I took a lot of shit from people when I said that she was hot. I know you agree with me,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady's since passed on, but a lot, like my ex-wife used to be like, God, how could you like her? She acted like I, was just like picking someone out of she just shot up and she's got piss on her and she's my woman. I don't know, but Amy Winehouse.
Oh, she's fucking
I know
hot.
she wasn't thought of as like the most beautiful woman, but I thought Amy was just unbelievable. She could play the piano tremendously, could sing tremendously, and I thought she, in spite of her drug use, just was incredibly beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Totally with you on that.
Well, gentlemen, unfortunately, I have to be abrupt and I got to go. I got to get to my other job, though. Like I said, there's still some kind of heat going on there, so I want to be on time.
Yeah, well, good luck
All
with
right,
that.
Danny.
Hopefully everything goes well, and you and I will be in touch, okay?
Yes, sir. Be well. Thank
All
you.
right. Later, Danny.
Bye, John.
We got a couple of people talking about Rebel Wilson. Sex says Rhea Perlman. I don't
Is
know.
that I don't know, Rebel. Is that from Wilson Phillips?
Yeah, she's the daughter.
Okay.
She was if I'm thinking about the same person, she was very, very heavy, and now she's gone through. I don't know if she's went through a tremendous diet or had that surgery, but she's super. In fact, when she was heavy, I thought she was gorgeous. She just had a few extra pounds on her, and I definitely don't mind a zaftig woman.
Hell no, I prefer that.
Yeah,
the older I get.
Exactly. I love that line in Pulp Fiction where the Bruce Willis scene with, I don't remember the actress that he played his girlfriend, and they're in the hotel room and he's cuddling up with her and he's talking about how nice she feels, and then she says sometimes she was complaining about her weight, and she said something to the effect that sometimes what is bad to the eye is good to the touch. And I thought that was a brilliant way of
Couldn't have said it better,
right? Because sometimes a woman that has a little weight, just like guys, you get a little dimple here and a dimple there, a cellulite here, cellulite there. And, some guys don't like looking at that, but man, oh man, let me put my hands on that. I love it, baby. It feels good to me.
What was the name of that chick that Nomad's talking about? She was like a big blonde, busty blonde that married a really old guy,
Yeah. I know her
name. I can't remember.
She sued
Totally
after
forgot.
he died. She sued
for the inheritance or collect the inheritance against the children of the old dude in the wheelchair, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Oh, what the hell is her name?
She was Anna Nicole Smith. He's got
Anna Nicole
Smith. Thank you.
Pepe
Silvia. Yep.
She was sort of the Marilyn Monroe of that era, but without the acting chops. She was just a personality like that.
Were you a Marilyn fan?
Yeah, I was growing up. As a kid, I had a thing for big busted women, and so watching Marilyn Monroe and in movies
Mansfield
like Some Like It Hot or whatever, close the
I'm
door.
gonna have to grab. We did a Life Maryland issue just recently. It just came out. I've got some copies at work. I'll bring you.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, she's
she
underrated actress too, in my opinion. I thought that she mastered that, dumb blonde thing, and she wasn't dumb. She was unfortunately led astray by men and taken advantage of. But she was a very smart actress. And yeah, Nomad, you're absolutely right. Anna Nicole Smith had a body on her. Oof.
That's what we used to call that brick shit house. Built like a brick shit house.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. I saw two movies that I think only you would like, Aldo, this past weekend.
Okay.
One was The Card Counter, which is the Paul Schrader movie. I don't want to give too much away because there's a lot of references to the Card Shark movies like Cincinnati Kid. I don't know if you remember that one with Steve McQueen and Edward G. Robinson, but there's a lot of references to that. And underlying all of this is the Paul Schrader dark side of man, dark side of humanity. And Willem Dafoe is in it too.
Ooh.
And Ty Sheridan, who is a kid from Ready Player One.
Okay.
He's in it, and I forget the actress's name who plays kind of like the love interest, but Oscar Isaac is the star.
Oh,
and he's excellent. He's a guy that is adept at counting cards. It just he's one of those people that looks at, he knows what's coming. He's got his system. He's blackjack, poker, these are all his things, and he gets recruited by this woman to be a card player, like World Series of Poker tour.
I think they said.
I'm sorry. I was trying to play the trailer underneath. I couldn't turn the audio off, but please continue with your description. I'll find the trailer.
Right. And he gets hired on to, play in these, World Series of Poker tours going from city to city, and investors back him with his stake and his stake money and everything like that. And as he wins, he's earning money, for the investors, and he gets his cut. So, he gets his portion of the pay. He has no job other than playing cards. And he meets this kid who comes up to him and says, "Hey, you might have known my dad." And this guy, Willem Dafoe, and Oscar Isaac's a very weird character. Whenever he travels, he wraps everything in those white sheets. He doesn't touch anything. It's like, Howard Hughes or whatever.
So he's a germaphobe.
A germaphobe, and you learn. I can't tell you anymore because of the last fucking scene in the movie. The last few scenes, the third act, the final act, and then the denouement afterwards. But it's really
Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish. She's excellent. She's super hot too.
I love her.
And she plays the love interest. She's the one that recruits him to play. There's that Ty Sheridan. And you get this you get the drama of him playing in these poker tournaments and stuff. He's kind of a little Rain Man-y, might be on the spectrum a little bit. Oscar Isaac. Willem Dafoe is the guy who trained him to torture people in Abu Ghraib. And I don't want to give anything away, but I suggest you watch it because it's a Paul Schrader film.
Yes, I am definitely going to watch this. This looks like right up my alley.
Produced by Martin Scorsese. Yep.
Oh, I love it, man. I wish I would have watched it when you sent me the link to it because I would have loved to have talked to you about this, but we'll definitely do it next week.
Yep. He has this odd kind of like father-son relationship with Ty Sheridan in the movie too. There's that in the backdrop. He's a very unorthodox. He never was a parent. He spent most of his life in prison too. After he went to jail for Abu Ghraib, for crimes committed at the prison during the Iraq War. So there's that, and then I saw another movie that I think only you might appreciate. I don't think Dan Aguirre would like a movie. It's called The Outfit, and it stars Mark
I love
Rylance.
this movie.
Did you see it?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
love it.
It was a great movie. It takes place all in the tailor shop.
Yes.
One scene, one set the whole time, and the acting is freaking glorious. Mark Rylance, so good.
Yes.
And the other kid, I think, is
the guy who played the tailor.
Mark Rylance.
Rylance, who is more known for his theater work, but he has had very successful movies. In fact, I think he was nominated for a movie he was in with Tom Hanks and directed by Steven Spielberg. I forgot the title of the movie, but it was a Russian Cold War where the Mark Rylance character played a spy for the Russians, and he's being tracked down by Tom Hanks. That's a movie I highly recommend. I'll try to fix
Spy
up with
Hunter,
that.
is that what it's called? There's
I
no
don't
Bridge.
think it's Spy Hunter.
It's something
Yeah.
Bridge.
Yes, it is something Bridge.
Bridge of Spies, or
yeah, I'll find that in a second here. But that's
Mark Rylance is considered one of England's greatest theater actors.
Right.
Stage actors, but man, he's pretty fucking good on screen too.
Yes,
this
and
one he's so good in, man. It's I haven't seen a performance that good in quite a while. The outfit,
yeah,
and the
let me tell
story's
you,
killer, man. It's got plenty of twists. It reminded me of Glenn Ross a little bit.
Yep.
It's that kind of feel.
And the Zoe Deutsch is the actress in it who plays an employee at this tailor shop and is heavily involved in the plot. And she's
Don't
fantastic.
give it away though. Yep.
Yeah, I won't give anything away. I won't give anything away.
Nobody is who they are. That's all I gotta say. Every single character.
Yeah, great twist. And and sometimes movies that are all shot in one location, as this is, because it's all in the tailor
Chicago
shop, too. Set, yes. Sometimes movies like that don't have that cinematic feel, that movie feel, because it's all in one location. It feels more theatrical. But this movie transcends that. It really is, the way it's shot really has a cinematic feel. You won't be bored by it. Yeah. I don't think you will be. And it's a clever story, well told, well acted, highly recommended.
My wife said I should be bored in this movie, but I'm not.
That's a good way of putting it.
She said, that's why I told her, you said it, baby, because it was that good, man. It was just, I mean, it's if you love story and you love acting and you love dialogue, I mean, and you love twists and mystery. I mean, it's great. I haven't seen a movie they don't make movies like this much anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You even take an appreciation for the job of a tailor. This guy makes suits, and he talks about the fabrics and stitching it together and stuff. Movies like that. One of the things that I've always loved about Martin Scorsese movies is that they do a great job sometimes of explaining how things work. Like I love those scenes in Casino when they're explaining how the money is made at the casino and how it's counted in the back and stuff. It's exposition. It's stuff that a lot of filmmakers will just bypass. And
you'll love the card counter too, because a lot of that is like talking about how he counts cards. This is +1. This is 0. This is -1.
I love that
talking
stuff.
about the pit bosses and all that stuff inside the casino. Which guy does what? Which dealer? And all this stuff. But it's
this sounds like a good one. Nomad is watching the Bill Duke directed film called Hoodlum with Lawrence Fishburne. I've heard of that and not seen it.
I love Bill Duke. I didn't know he was a director too. Is that talking about the actor that was in Predator as well? The one gonna get me some. Is that Bill Duke, right? The same guy?
Yes, it certainly is. That's right.
Jesse Ventura's buddy in the first Predator.
Right. It definitely is. And I like Zach's comment here about Paul Thomas Anderson. Another excellent filmmaker. He makes those kinds of movies that mass audiences aren't going to rush to the theater to watch. It's not, a shark movie or alien movie or a Marvel movie. But Paul Thomas Anderson has a fabulous sensibility. Somebody mentioned earlier Hard 8, the movie with the recently passed away actor whose name now I'm forgetting. But P.T. Anderson has that.
He's got 3 names.
Philip
Baker Hall.
There you go.
Is that his name? Okay.
That's it. Great actor. His performance in Magnolia is simply sensational. Where he plays a talk show or a game show host, TV game show host, and is battling some demons, alcoholism. He's been a poor dad and so forth. In Hard 8, he plays a guy who is counseling a gambler, and he's done a lot of great movies. P.T. Anderson. There was another movie that he did with what's that fucker's name that played the Joker? Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. He did what the hell's the name of that movie? Somebody in the chat will help me. But It's fabulously directed. P.T. Anderson is a filmmaker who, if you like something a little bit out of the norm, watch for his films. And we're told that Bill Duke was also in Commando. Ravi remembers that Bill Duke was in Commando. Yes, he was. He's a bad motherfucker. The master. Thank you, Ravi.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's the master, right? Philip Seymour Hoffman.
He's in The Master. He plays sort of like a cult leader.
Taken too soon.
No, but that's not the guy who died. It was
I know, but he's also dead.
Oh yes, that's
Philip
right.
Seymour
I forgot.
Hoffman,
He died 3-4 years ago of an overdose. Yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. One of his great roles was in Cold Mountain. Did you ever see Cold Mountain with Jude Law? He plays like that fornicating preacher. Who's like, he was like chased off for diddling all the girls. He's like he ends up on the chain gang with Jude Law. In during the Civil War.
Yes.
And, they go to Giovanni Ribisi's house where he tries to diddle the girls there again.
Wasn't that a Ron Howard directed movie?
And I think it was Anthony Minghella who did the talented Mr. Ripley. A great Cold Mountain's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's got everything, with Nicole Kidman and the great love story between Jude Law and Nicole Kidman. But also a great movie. I did see another movie, Aldo, which I think the Barflies would enjoy. It's called Cop Shop. It's directed by Joe Carnahan, and it's basically a Quentin Tarantino movie without Tarantino, and it stars Gerard Butler. God, what is that girl's name? There's
Alexis Louder.
Alexis Louder, and she's freaking awesome. She is so good in this movie, and Frank Grillo and a bunch of other actors, like B-movie actors you see. But Frank Grillo is the guy who's being chased by hitmen, ends up in the jail where Alexis Louder is one of the police officers in a small town in Nevada. And like all these, people converge on the thing to try and kill. But it's great, man. The dialogue is killer, and some great gunfights and stuff. And it's like fast food. This movie, but it's enjoyable if you just want to turn your brain off for a little bit and watch some good dialogue and gunfights. And it's basically one of those crime noir or crime movies.
Yeah.
Some
film
hilarious
noir kind of feel to it. Neo noir, I think they're calling it nowadays. This looks up my alley too. I love these kinds.
It's got some great lines and funny moments in it and stuff with some hard ass guys and gals, hard asses, and it's good, man.
Yeah, I can tell already by the trailer and the way the film is shot that I'd be interested in this. And Butler is a good actor.
Yep. It looks like he slimmed down too. He like puffed up a little bit, kind of like Russell Crowe.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys, he looks like he slimmed down a little bit.
That is wild. Good selections there, Tooch.
Yeah, there was some stuff. I guess must have had stuff. This guy was hilarious. The guy who comes in with the balloons. I don't know the actor's name, man. He's hilarious.
Good stuff. Look at that. All right, so we need to talk. You and I have been watching The Man Who Fell to Earth. It's on Showtime. Yep. It's episode, I think, 7. I think it's it was 8.
This was episode 8. Yep.
Okay, so 2 more episodes to the season. So we're nearing the finale. And if at the very beginning, we saw the main character, episode 1, we saw the main character in a large auditorium giving kind of a TED-type speech. Talking about how he rose to prominence, into fame, worldwide fame and fortune. And then it gets into this, he recollects the story that we've been following now for 8 episodes. And this past week's episode, they just seem to get better and better and better every week.
Yeah, definitely created a lot of tension. And it's weird because Faraday was hardly in this episode except when he was unconscious, when you think about it, because he gets shot. And he's, he's basically, he almost dies, and of course, Justin Falls brings him to
and be careful because Cliff Victoria is watching it, but he hasn't seen episode 8 yet, so he doesn't want
to But it creates a lot of tension. I got to ask you a question though, because there's something I haven't been able to figure out is whether or not Hatch is lying
Mm-hmm.
right? About selling the patents because he says he's not. Everyone says he did.
Mm-hmm.
Then he kind of says, I had no other choice, right? In I think in this episode, I didn't have any choice because it was from outer space or whatever, right?
Right.
Newton's 10th patent, right?
Right.
Is that so? He wanted he. I guess he comes clean because he says, I didn't have any other choice. I needed to find out what was in it, what was in the pattern because he couldn't read it himself. But I think one of the most frustrating things about the show is that I really want Hatch and Edie to make up.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm just like, it's so frustrating for me because of the brother, sister, sibling relationships, because I know how hard that would be if I couldn't make up with one of my siblings, just no matter what, the whole thing's coming to the climax for the last two episodes with Are the Antheans coming to Earth, Clay Spencer, that's another question. Why did Mary Lou call him Jay? Was he at that farm as a kid?
I don't think so.
No?
I didn't understand that, to be honest with you.
And then she asked him, what was your name? He said, Yvonne.
Mm-hmm.
That was very, I'll have to go back and watch it again.
Probably, it'll probably be revealed in the next 2 episodes what that was all about. But you and I, before we went live, we're talking about Jimmy Simpson, who plays Spencer Clay, the villain, the CIA agent who is now pursuing this, what's it called? The quantum fusion machine. And
what do they call it too? Do you have they put it in the fridge. They hid it inside the fridge in this episode. What did he call it? Did you grab the, I don't know I forgot what they called the device. They
gave it a nickname. But what we were talking about was that Jimmy Simpson is just fantastic as the villain, and he is definitely to me, one of the best villains I've seen in a TV series for some time. I mean, he's just one of those guys. I think just there's something about his face that I naturally dislike about him. He doesn't look like a trustworthy guy.
Nope.
You may remember him from people may remember him from Lost. I think it was probably the most famous or well-known thing that he's worked on.
Westworld, I think, was
Westworld. Yeah,
Westworld.
Yeah. Black Mirror. Have you seen Black Mirror?
Right. He kind of, his face is very punchable. It's kind of like in the Christian Slater family of faces. If I could, right? Is that
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Yes, Robbie. Westworld is coming out soon. Did you see last season, Tooch?
I did. I thought 3 was the worst of the seasons.
I couldn't get through it, man.
Yeah. And I like that guy. What's his name? Aaron Paul. I think is the guy who, and I like him too. It's just, I don't know. It was very hard to follow. I mean, I love the first 2 seasons. I thought it was like some of the best TV ever written. And then season 3 was just kind of like, I didn't care much about it. They're in the future and stuff. And while it was interesting and stuff, I really missed the kind of the Anthony Hopkins and Jeffrey Wright stuff, about the Bill Park and all that. And Westworld season 1 was probably one of the best seasons,
I agree with you. Jordan didn't like it. It's not for everyone. Jordan didn't like True Detective either, so that's surprising.
I liked all 3 True Detectives, but True Detective season 1 was, heads above the other 2, but the other 2 were still pretty freaking good.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. And I guess they're having a season 4.
That's right. I forgot who's in the cast, but I think it's a real strong female leads that have been cast.
It won't be that Nick Palazzolo though writing the show, or
that is correct. He is not involved in this season, so it'd be interesting. I'm sure he's going to have some hand in it, as executive producer and add some creative influence in it. But yeah, it's the show. What's it called? The show producer, the show runner is going to be different, and the episodes are not going to be written by Nick.
Yeah, because I mean he's a really good writer and stuff. I know it's an acquired taste, kind of. I think maybe with Nick Palazzolo, but yeah, I'd like to see it come back. Season 4. If it is as good as the other two, I'll definitely watch it. The other 3, I mean.
Well, you've given me a few movies to look for. Cop Shop being one of them. I'm really interested in checking that out.
Yeah, I mean it's like an hour, less than an hour and a half. It really does. It only really takes place inside the cop shop too. That's it. It takes place in the police station. The whole movie almost.
Oh, okay. So it's a little bit like The Outfit, that it's got one major location.
Yep, basically. There's a couple. There's a little bit outside around Nevada with some of the policemen, but for the most part, it takes place in right inside the police station. But really good, man.
Cool.
I mean,
well, before we get out of here, Tooch, help me with the Stanley Cup Finals. The first 2 games were won by the Colorado Avalanche, and they were kind of no contest. And then it goes to Tampa Bay, and the Lightning just turned the tables. They looked like the clearly more dominant team. I had picked them to win the series before they started, and I was shocked that they lost 2 games on the road. But they came back strong in Game 3. Game 4, I believe, is tomorrow night. What are your thoughts on this series?
I mean, I didn't bet the game 3, and I should have, but I kind of was like, my Game 3, and I mean, it would have been for me Lightning or nothing in that game because I didn't think there's no way Tampa Bay is going to lose 3 games in a row.
Right.
And then of course I think Colorado scored like the first 2 goals. I think it was 2-0 Colorado. And I'm like, oh boy, good thing I stayed away. And then like Tampa Bay scored like 6 in a row.
Yeah.
But it was I made a mistake. I could have made some money on that one. If I would have just stuck to my guns. But I played Cale Makar over 2.5 shots on goal. That was like free money. That was just free money. So man, that was it. I was happy to not bet on the game and just bet that one prop.
Yeah.
Because he was averaging 4 or 5 shots a game. Throughout the playoffs. I couldn't believe it was like, shots on goal 2.5 for this game. I don't know what they thought. Maybe Tampa Bay would play a little harder defense at home or something. But yeah, that was free money. The same with I played DraftKings had a Rory McIlroy to finish top 20 with like a boost. It was almost even money. I'm like, but you could only bet maximum bet of $50. But that's a free $50 for me.
Oh shit, yeah.
So. I think I had Matthew Fitzpatrick to finish top 10. He actually ended up winning. So I wish I had bet on him to be outright winner. But I'm kind of play it safe when I'm betting golf with top 10s and top 20s. I think you can make it's a little easier to just get my money.
Yeah, I agree. I've made some money on top 10s on major tournaments because pick a guy who is a good golfer, and you're going to win some money if you pick him to be in the top 10 or top 20. I mean, the odds are in your favor. Jordan asks, Tucci, would you say you were positive or negative in all of your life bets? Where are you? Are you in the money?
If it's baseball, it's negative. College basketball definitely up, and then college football I do pretty good at. I did great on hockey this year, and then baseball. I was
baseball. It's become almost impossible to bet on, man.
You might as well flip a coin.
Yeah, it's this whole approach towards bringing in relief pitchers in the 5th inning has ruined it for gamblers. Back in the day when pitchers went into the 7th or 8th inning or complete games, it was much easier to bet. Because you were basically betting on the pitching. But nowadays, you got to really super study bullpens, and bullpens, there's so many variables in a bullpen, who you bring in and stuff. It's very, very difficult. I agree with you, man. If anything, I'll lay a prop bet on, if I see that the wind is blowing out in Wrigley Field, I'll lay a prop bet on home runs. That's about all I do in baseball.
I made some money on the Padres Cubs overs, that series. I made some money on. That was, wind blowing out. One game, I think the Padres scored 18 runs or something like that.
Yeah, right. Those are the bets, man.
I didn't do well tonight. I had I only bet. I did play baseball. I've been playing prop bets. I think that's an easier way to win, or totals. I'm not going to play a lot of sides. I had the Cubs pitcher over for 4.5 strikeouts, and he had 5. But that was easy. That was an easy one. I had Cal Gibson over 1.5 walks. He didn't have any walks, so I lost that one. But he was averaging 4 or 5 walks on the road. I'd say he was on the road at the Rangers. He had an awesome game. So lost that one, and then
Ravi wants to know if you've ever had to run away from a book you collect.
It's like, I don't. I go through DraftKings. I play DraftKings or FanDuel. That's it. DraftKings is like they give you so many great boosts.
They really do.
Last week, if you deposited $5, you got 3 100% profit boosts.
Ooh,
that's like, man, you just bet one game and put the 100% profit boost on it. Like I think I did one of those overs recently. Was it yesterday? I had a pretty good day, and then today with baseball, lost most of it. Lost most of the profits from yesterday. So
it's the world of gambling.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's baseball. It's just so tough. Like
it really is.
The Yankees, you have the Nestor Cortez, one of their better pitchers, going tonight against the Rays bullpen, Tampa Bay Rays bullpen. With Tampa Bay Rays put 2 of their best players on the disabled list. So I took the Yankees on the money line. It's a pretty good price, and they lost. Again, the Rays just happened to be a thorn in the side for the Yankees. The Yankees have a great team. So
maybe the Rays are going to start picking things up, because I understand that they have been a little disappointing this season. Stephen Mead's got some betting advice.
Yeah.
It's bet on Manchester City to three-peat the Premier League, World Cup in Qatar, Qatar. What do you call it? Qatar? Qatar in November will be interesting too. And then he goes on to say the U.S. in the group with England, Wales, and Iran, they should all lose. They should lose all 3. The U.S. Team. I won't argue with you there, Stephen.
There's a good website for people. It's called Football Tips Football Super. Let me say it. I think it's called footballtips.com. It's James Murphy is the guy who does it. He's a pretty good handicapper. But he has a bet of the day that I don't know. I tailed him for past 10. He's won like 10 in a row. So I've made some small bets with him playing Norwegian soccer the past couple days.
Cool.
But let me give out the.
Do you like to bet while you're looking that up? Think about this as well. Do you like to bet NFL? Is that your preferred, or is college basketball your preferred?
If I'm going to make money, it's college basketball.
Yeah, that seems to be an easier.
Because you can handicap it a lot easier. And then I have to say NFL is the most fun, but I think next year I'm gonna do a lot more prop bets. I seem to have some success with the prop betting. The website's called freesupertips.com. And, he has props for everything. He'll give you he calls a correct score double tip, which is like picking the correct score of 2 games. I don't play this because it's so hard to hit on it. But if you were to put like $1 or $5 or $10 on it, you could win $100 to $1,000 because it's super hard to pick the correct score for 2 games.
Yeah, so, that's not easy. Fuck.
Right, and like
playing Keno.
Anthony and I will talk about round robins if we do our show up at Barroom. Round robins is a good way to do some bets. If you have instead of doing a parlay, with 5 legs, you can do round robin every combination, which we picks by 2s, by 3s, by 4s, and then the whole 5 parlay. Okay. And then you can, if you lose one leg, you can still make money with the other combos, and you can put 10 cents or 50 cents and still make some money.
Never heard of this.
round robins. It's called. Usually they all have it. And Anthony and I would give an explanation on it too if you wanted. That would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you can pick. Say you have a 4-leg parlay. You can go round robin by 2. Which is two of the picks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one and one, and then it'll go through every combo of just a two-leg parlay, every combo of a 3-leg parlay, and then of course the 4-leg parlay itself. And then you can put every combination, type in like $1, and it might be, I don't know, I think, what is that, 16 different combos for a 4-leg parlay, something like that. So it'd be $16 or $12 or $11, whatever it is. And then, if you hit, you have some big odds. Like people do that for home runs, for a player to hit a home run, because those are usually really nice odds. They're always like anywhere from plus 250 to plus 800 for a guy to hit a home run. And I'll check like MLB.com. If you go to MLB.com, you can see like they'll list the pitcher for each teams in that game, and then every batter's record against that pitcher. That's the one tool that you can use to handicap baseball. But like I said, baseball, I mean, you can have a perfect cap on it. Like the other day I had the Orioles in one game. They left 9 men on base, otherwise they would have creamed the other team. They just couldn't get any runs in. Yeah, I think they had second and third and less than 2 outs a couple times. Couldn't get the win. They lost by 1. So,
Stephen Me says he lost $3,000 betting on the Colts to beat the Jaguars in the last game of the season. That was a good bet, Stephen, but $3,000 putting it no, don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, I'm a don't bet more than you can stand losing. Kind of guy. I'll the best way to win consistently is just bet on a single thing. I mean, parlays are great. You love them. You're like, oh my God, I'm $5. I'm going to win 500. But they hardly ever wins. And then that adds up. Because someone's always gonna, or one leg is probably almost always gonna lose. I can't tell you how many times it was the last game of the night. All I have to do is hit this one. And then you're like, you didn't cash out, and then you can't sleep that night. Why didn't I cash out at 196? Like, damn it, then I end up winning nothing. But, I can't wait for college basketball, because then I'm back to making good money,
making good cash.
Yep.
All righty, John, let people know where they can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm taking a break from giving out free picks, because I mean it's like baseball. It's like I I don't want to give out bad picks. So right now I'm taking a break, and I figure when once NFL starts and college football starts up, I'll be back at it. I know that the NHL's over in a few games. I could see the NHL, this series going 7.
I'm with you. Vinny Parisi said the other night or last week on Bard on Hockey that he'd love to see the series go 7 games and the 7th game go into overtime. Well, the first game went into overtime, and so I wouldn't be surprised if it bookends with a Game 7 overtime game. That would be fantastic for hockey.
Colorado's so tough at home. That's the thing. I don't think they lost a game during the playoffs at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I kind of figured if it doesn't matter, Colorado may win these first 2 games. I think Tampa Bay will still be in the series, even if Colorado wins the first 2. But I just didn't pull the trigger. I love that Cale Makar over 2.5 shots on goal. That, to me, that was free money. Like that one during the Super Bowl, Evan McPherson over 1.5 field goals. That was free money.
Yeah, right.
They make a mistake like that. So Akos. Yeah, but Stephen Mees right here. That if you go to freesupertips.com, you can get. He has a ton of Akas. So for accumulators. Yeah, and you can delete one or not. Most of them are like both teams to score, or overs and unders, and then the bet of the day, he'll break it down. He has a little article about why he thinks his team wins. Sometimes he picks like road teams, and I don't like, because it's soccer. Road teams, to me, I don't like betting on road teams in soccer. I prefer if he gives me a home team game, I'm going to probably bet it, just because home teams, if he writes it up good and this team's that and 2 players are out or some guy suspended or something up, I think it's a good bet.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Well, thanks. Again, tell people about your Twitter account and where they can follow you.
Yep, at John Santucci VIP. But I'm not giving out picks right now. I'm just kind of commenting on Bears stuff. As I
There you go.
Retweeting Bears stuff. I'll retweet the Barroom Network. Retweet people who are, I forget, was it Alyssa Barbieri? Maybe I might have retweeted recently. She had a nice little thread about Bears stuff, or retweet just any kind of Bear news. I'll retweet right now. That's what I'm doing. But
sounds good, amigo. Thank you very much.
I do have to say though, Aldo, I went for Father's Day, and my son took me to what I told him. Des Moines' best burger. There was an article right up for Des Moines' best burger, and I had never heard of this. Like, what? It's called Lachelle's, Lacheles. Lachelle's Finer Foods, but it's really just a hole in the wall with a counter and some tables, very small. But they had an awesome. It is the best burger. They smash it down on the griddle on the flat top. And it gets like crispy around the edge, frayed. It's thin, and then they'll put like 2 of them on your burger, and then they dress it up with some their own sauce. It was like sesame seed bun, freaking house made like a pillow. So nice,
nice.
And all the fixings, and it's like it's like the patty sticks out, and it's got all these crispy edges outside the bun. It was delicious.
Yeah, sounds delicious. You're making me hungry. I'll tell you that. All right, we got a full day of programming tomorrow. It starts at 2 p.m. Bar Down Hockey. Oh, I just got a message from the Science Fiction guys. They need to take a day off tomorrow, so it'll be Bar Down at 2 p.m. and the Mac and Reed show at 7 p.m. I will tell them, guys, go as long as you want because Science Fiction will not be on. But check out the Mac and Reed show. Those guys know their football. And
Ross is a great follow on Twitter, too.
He really, really is. He's a great guy. And Evan doesn't do much on Twitter, but he definitely knows how to host a show. So check that show out at 7 o'clock. I'll be directing in the background so we can interact there. And yes, I posted that just a second ago, lower odds for home teams, but like any bet, you got to do your homework. Steven knows how to bet, even though he lost $3,000 betting on the Colts to beat the Jaguars.
It happens. Yeah, I've never lost that much, but
yeah, I don't want to ever lose that much. All right, everybody, we will see you back here tomorrow at the Barroom Network. And Tooch, thank you very much for everything you do. And Dan Aguirre, wherever you are, we love you. Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls. Make sure you subscribe to the Barroom Network and you give us a rating on iTunes. Until next week, my name is Nomfe. Bear down.